Hi, beautiful people. We have some Trump news and other stuff to talk about tonight. President Trump erases Obama era youth policies. We'll start with that. Everything I share is for educational purposes, and we'll get right into it. Okay. But remember, what I'm showing you is not necessarily the opinions of the host. I'm just telling you guys what's going on. Oh, shoot.
Hello, everybody. We have great athletes with us today, and we have some young great athletes, some award-winning athletes, and it's an honor to have everybody. We're thrilled
See that mess over
to have
there?
so many young athletes here at the White House in the Oval Office on this magnificent spring day, and it is indeed a beautiful day to celebrate America's athletic traditions and champions in physical fitness and all of those things that I work so hard at on a personal basis. I work out so much, like about 1 minute a day max, if I'm lucky. I want to thank Secretaries Pete Hegseth, who just gave a great news conference with General Raisin Kane.
I played that for you.
That was really good, and you're doing very well, aren't you, dear? They don't like playing games with us. They don't like it at all. You'll see that. As time goes by, you're going to see it. I think you've already seen it. We basically wiped out their military in about 2 weeks. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's done an incredible job. Scott Turner, that everybody knows. And a legend, Linda McMahon, head of education in our country, and she's doing a fantastic job. They all are.
Thank you, Rome.
We're also pleased to be joined by respected sports leaders and members of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. We really have some incredible people. It's like a who's who.
Me too.
Bryson, how many do we have on the council total?
Oh, it's got to be upwards of 30, actually.
Yeah, a lot, and all top.
Yes, sir.
If they weren't really good, we don't allow them. You're going to be really good. Like Gary Player, as an example, he won 168 tournaments. Over a very average career. You know that, think of it. He won 168 tournaments, 18 majors, 9 and 9 senior. He has more championships than anybody, national championships than anybody. And I played with him. He's very proud of it, actually. He played with him on his 90th birthday. He very easily, on a tough course, from 6,800 yards, he very easily shot a 70. And it was the easiest 70. And normally, if you shoot a 70 and you're 90, you'd run around so excited. Gary's like, all right, let's have a little lunch. Because he was the most unexcited you ever been. Because he's been doing it all his life. He's been winning top 3 in history, in my opinion. I don't think it's my opinion. Just based on the record, Gary is top 3. Jack and Tiger and Gary, greatest golfers. So thanks for being here. And as you know, we have the U.S. Open champion, and he won 2 U.S. Opens. But that last one was unbelievable. He had I think Gary's one of the greatest shots ever hit to win a U.S. Open, certainly. One of the top, they say one of the top 3. I don't know what the other 2 are. But he hit an unbelievable sand shot, sank a 4.5-foot putt, and he won the U.S. Open. And he's been a great golfer from the day he was born, if you believe in genetics, because I do. But he won, he won the U.S. Amateur years ago, and he won it quite easily. But he's a great person and a great friend of mine, Bryson DeChambeau. And thank you, Bryson. And you're very much in charge of this whole operation of the sports. He's so much into physical fitness. All you have to do is take a look at him. And you say, why is he even doing this? Because I think if you didn't work out at all, you'd still look almost like you do right now. But you are doing great. And everybody respects Bryson. He's the longest hitter in golf. And he's straight. And frankly, maybe the best part of his game, Gary, is he's a great putter.
Absolutely.
You played with him, right?
And an asset to the game.
And he's a great asset, and he's a great person. And we have, along with the University of Florida's basketball coach, Todd Golden. Todd, where's Todd?
Right here.
Todd, hi, Todd.
Great to see you, brother.
And what a job, by the way, what a job you've done. You see that, I'm a little busy to watch the games, but I always see your team is right up there.
Yeah.
You're doing a fantastic job as a young guy. An American hockey hero TJ Oshie, who's one of the best hockey players in the world. TJ,
Mr.
good to
President,
be.
thanks for having me.
How's your golf game? The hockey players, Bryson was saying, the hockey players seem to be the best of the athletes, seem to be the best golfers. You know?
It's the greatest game.
Yeah, it's great.
Fun to play.
And he's a good golfer. He's a 3 handicap, maybe better, right? It's very good.
So work on the
But
putt.
stick,
Right, Gary?
right?
Yeah.
But stick to hockey,
Yeah.
right? As a 3, he has to stick to hockey. Bryson. That's great. What a career you've had too at a young age. And professional baseball pitcher, Noah Syndergaard, sometimes referred to as Thor. And he looks like Thor to me. That's where is he? It's very hard to make. They look great. That is a man, I wouldn't want to get into a fight with him, I can tell you. That would not be a good situation there. This year we celebrate 250th anniversary of our country. And it's our nation's founding. It's a big deal. In addition, we have the World Cup, and which is just now starting. And we have the Olympics. I got them both. And I was very proud of myself. I tried to say I got the 250th also, but that didn't work out too well. But I did get both the World Cup and I got the Olympics. And I was very proud of that. But I was very sad, actually, because I got them in my first term. And I said, oh, wow, I'm not going to be able to go as president because they were in 6 years. So I wouldn't be president. I thought I'd easily win the election, which, by the way, I did. And unfortunately, bad things happened. It was a rigged election. And I said, well, I'll do it again. I had the ultimate poll. I did so well. And I had the ultimate poll, and we won in a landslide. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything you can win. We won 87% of the counties in the United States. And I ended up with the Olympics, and I ended up with the World Cup. And very importantly, maybe the most important is we have the 250th anniversary. And on June 14th, we're going to have the UFC, and the biggest fight they've ever done by far. It's the hardest ticket I've ever been involved with. And they're building a 5,000-seat stadium right by the front door of the White House. And then they're going to have anywhere from 75 to 100,000 people on the park right past the White House with 8 tremendous screens. And then we have Roger Penske. So that's Dana White's dream, what that is. It's going to be amazing. And then we have Roger Penske is going to have a big championship Indy around the Capitol and the Indy racers. And he's been trying to get it here for 25 years. And he said, I came to Washington exactly 121 times and I was never able to get it. I came once to see you and we had it done in a half an hour. And he's fantastic. He's won 20 Indianapolis 500s. Can you believe that? Other, countries, and I say it all the time, I gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, like I gave to Gary too, because of his career. And then Roger, on his 18th, I called him. I said, come on, I want to give you the president. You won 18. Japan, Germany, all these countries, they spend billions and billions of dollars, and they don't, it's very hard for them to win. They don't win very, very much. They spend all that money, and Roger just wins it all the time. So I gave it to him on the 18th win, and since then he's won, that was 4 years ago, since then he's won 2 more. So he's going to be here with the Indy cars, and it's going to be their biggest race maybe ever. And they're going to be circling the Capitol. We have Pennsylvania Avenue closed down, and I said, do you like the course? He said, I love the course. I said, pick the best course. We'll get it for you. Don't go the easy way. Pick the best roads. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And he picked he said it's as good as you can get. And unfortunately, he picked the most important roads in the city, which is a little tougher. But we got it done for him quickly, and that's going to be in August. So we have a lot of really exciting things happening. So today I signed a proclamation recognizing National Youth Sports and Fitness, and I'll also sign the very first copy of the new Revitalized Presidential Fitness Test Award, a certificate in recognition of achievement of the gold standard of physical fitness. And this is something that Bryson DeChambeau wanted to do very badly. Bryson's amazing. I mean, he's somebody that can put on 25, 30. At one point, I guess he put on almost 50 pounds. Remember, he looked like a linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he decided he didn't like himself at that weight. It was all muscle, guy. It was like crazy. He looked like massive football player. He wouldn't want to play Monopoly. And he said he didn't like it. He developed too much speed. This is the problem with people. He had too much speed. He wanted to bring it down a little bit. So he lost. He can put on weight, like up and down like a yo-yo, and he doesn't take the shot, okay? He doesn't need the fat shot. I said, do you ever take this shot? He didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. What shot? No, he can put it on. He's a scientist. He's like a scientist with his body. He's a great guy, and he's an absolute champion, so I appreciate it. But Bryson really wanted to bring it back, because we are bringing it back. It's something that's a lot of people, the wrong people probably were involved. I don't know. But this is a group of people that physical fitness is everything. Gary Player, by the way, you talk about golf, but he was always considered in the best shape of the rest of the world. Now you see all these guys have a 28-inch waist. They walk down, it's like robots, right? But Gary was always, he was way ahead of everybody else. From the late 1950s until 2013, grade schoolers across the country competed against each other in the presidential fitness test, but others. And then we had the Obama administration. Wonderful, wonderful person, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? We had the Obama administration, which phased out this wonderful tradition of physical fitness. Thank you, Barack, very much. Great job. And we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. My administration's working very hard to defend America's cherished athletic traditions and pass our values of excellence and competitiveness to the next generation. So important. We're working on historic reforms to save college sports, and we banned men from competing in women's sports. That was sort of an easy one. They say, you know, the radical left says, that's an 80-20 issue. No, it's 99-1. They say 80-20. Who are the 20%? I've never met anybody. Nobody's ever come up. So I've been president for 5 years, and nobody's ever come up to me and say, sir, you have to allow men to play in women's sports, you know. I've never had one person say it's really important that we allow women to be challenged by men in women's sports, and it doesn't work. So we did that, and with the help of Secretary Kennedy, who's with us, we're striving constantly to make America healthy again. And that's what we're doing. We have unbelievable numbers coming. Bobby will mention it. We have unbelievable numbers coming. So these next few years will be a golden age for American sports, just like it's a golden age for America. You know, we hit an all-time high stock market today, despite that we're in a little skirmish, military. I call it a skirmish because Iran has no chance. They never did. They know it. They expressed it to me when I talked to them. Then they get on television. They say how well they're doing. And they have no Navy, totally wiped out. They have no Air Force, totally wiped out. They have no anti-aircraft capability, totally wiped out, no radar. They have no leaders. The leaders are wiped out, the whole thing. And then I read the papers and they say how well they're doing. They're not doing well. That's why you have no credibility. No credibility. The news, the fake news has no credibility, but the President's Cup, it's going to be something, and we're going to have that. We're going to do very special presentations to Johnny, who, as you know, is the commissioner. He's a fantastic person who runs the soccer. And if I don't know if you know this, but so more tickets have been sold earlier than at any World Cup they've ever had. And the numbers are more than double. They've never seen anything like it. So it's really soccer. I don't know if soccer is taken off or not taken off, but the World Cup is doing numbers like they've never done. They've never done anywhere close. And we have the Patriot Games in honor of our 250th anniversary this fall. It's going to be all on television. And with that, it's like the ones that we have here. We're going to continue to win. Our country is doing great. We're breaking records in every way. And it was too bad, but I had to do it. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You might be too young for this. I don't know if I want. They probably know. They probably know better than most people. But you can't let a bunch of lunatics have a nuclear weapon, or the world would be in trouble. The world would be in trouble. So we just hit records on the Dow. It was supposed to be done in 5 or 6 years. Somebody said it couldn't be possible to reach 50 on the Dow, and I reached 50 in the first year. And then I reached 7,000. And by the way, it just set a new record. The S&P just set a new record, so much higher, 7,500. But they said even harder than 50 on the Dow is getting to 7,000 on the S&P. We did that by the end of the first year, all before the end of the first year. Gary, so think of that. They said we couldn't do it in 4 years, and we did it at the end of the first year. And then, you ever have this? And then I called all my people and I said, we record in the book. The economy is going great. I ended 8 wars. Nobody else ever ended a war. And the person that won the Nobel Prize, Maria, she's a good person. She said, I don't deserve this. This deserves to President Trump. There's never been a man that deserves a Nobel. He ended 8 wars, including India, Pakistan, which would have been a nuclear war, 8 of them. And I called everybody in, Gary, and I said, you know what? We just broke every record. And now we're going to take a hit because we have to make a journey down to Iran to take the nuclear weapon. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. Remember, we sent that beautiful B-2 bomber in, and we blew up their, obliterated, for those that are not aware, and to a point where it would take them weeks to dig down, and we wouldn't let them dig down. We have our eyes on it all the time. But it was a very important thing. So we would have had an Iran with a nuclear weapon, and maybe we wouldn't all be here right now. I can tell you the Middle East would have been gone, Israel would have been gone, and they would have trained their sights on Europe first and then us, because they're sick people. These are sick people. And we're not going to let lunatics have a nuclear weapon. The power of a nuclear weapon is something I don't even want to talk about, but it's not going to happen. And we have beaten them badly because they had a Navy of 159 ships. Every single ship in the first week was, right, Pete? Every single ship they had is resting underwater, right? At the bottom of the sea. They have no Navy. It's totally wiped out. Same thing with their Air Force. So we're doing well, but it's all about, having a great country. And one of the things I think that when they talk about physical fitness, one of the things I notice about friends of mine, all of the people, all of the great athletes here, is their mind is better than people that aren't fit. It's because I think a mind, once you hit a ball well, or you do whatever it is that you run well, or play hockey as great as you play it. But once you obviously have to have a certain physicality. You can't have somebody with a great mind and zero athletic talent, right? But when you get up to that league, it's all about the mind. The mind is so important. And these people express it, I think, better than anybody. So with that, I'd like to ask somebody that's done really an incredible job. He has got some group of people that love him, some big group of people. It was a big day when he endorsed me for president. Very unusual because I happen to be a Republican. I would say that Republicans were not too big in the Kennedy family, but they're big now because he's the biggest in the group, and everybody respects him a lot. He's doing a fantastic job. So Bobby, would you say a few words, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Almost immediately after my uncle was elected in 1960, he came across some federal data that showed that 5% of kids were obese. And that was more than double the European number. And he became very concerned that Americans were becoming soft. And he published an article before his inauguration called The Soft American, in which he said that there's a national security issue. It threatens our economy. We need a vigorous population that is in good shape spiritually, morally, physically, if we're going to continue to exercise leadership around the world. And he launched the physical fitness test, which became a milestone for my generation, for several generations after me. It was an enduring rite of passage for us that everybody in my generation remembers. It was a benchmark also because we did pull-ups, sit-ups, shuttle runs, and a number of other events, and it was a benchmark for measuring national physical fitness. Around that time, my uncle came across correspondence between Teddy Roosevelt and the head of the commandant of his Marine Corps. And Teddy Roosevelt asked him, what are the metrics? What are the physical requirements for a Marine? And Roosevelt, or the commandant, wrote him back saying that a Marine had to walk 50 miles in a single day with a 30-pound pack. My uncle wrote a letter to his commandant and said, can today's Marines do the same thing? The following day, he had a cabinet meeting. It was on a Friday, and he had private cabinet meetings, unlike the ones that we have to go through here. My uncle was, I'll just say this, my uncle was proud. He was the first president that televised press conferences. And he was very proud. He did more press conferences than any president in history. He did 64 in his 1,000 days in office. This president does that every 2 months. He does a press conference every day. Our cabinet meetings, better for worse, are also televised. But it's the most transparent administration that we've ever seen, the most successful administration in history. And he went into that cabinet meeting, that private cabinet meeting that morning, and he said to the cabinet, one of you has to do a 50-mile hike this weekend to show the American people that we're in shape. And this cabinet could have done it. We have a bunch of thoroughbreds in this cabinet. Pete and Scott and Sean Duffy and Linda and Tulsi and Doug Burgum and Jameson and all the rest. There's a lot of people who could probably do a 50-mile hike.
What about me? You didn't mention mine.
This guy walked 9 miles a day on a golf course every weekend, so he could do it in the breeze.
When I'm not using the car. Go ahead.
My father was the only one who could do it. And he went into the Justice Department that night, and he had a bunch of guys in the Justice Department who were former Marines who had gone to Harvard on the GI Bill and played on the same football team, and he hired them all when he came into the Justice Department. He said, you guys are going on a 50-mile hike with me tomorrow. And they got up at 4 a.m. and they started on the C&O Canal towpath, which was frozen. It was the middle of winter. And they were going to walk to Camp David. One by one, they each dropped out. My father was the only one who made it. The last guy to drop out was his best friend, whose name was Dave Hackett. And Dave Hackett's legs had swollen up, and he said, I got to quit. And my father said, you're lucky your brother's not the president of the United States, because the press was following, and there was no way that my father could quit. And I was at Camp David that night, watched him come in. His feet were bleeding. They were covered with blisters. But it was part of the message that President Kennedy wanted to send the American people. That if we were going to maintain our national authority, our international leadership, our moral authority as a nation, that we had to pay attention to our physical condition. And physical fitness test was a critical part of that. And I think it's very unfortunate that President Obama and President Biden abandoned it. They said competition is not good for kids, which is not true. If we're going to be competitive internationally, we need to be competitive with each other. We need to teach people how to win and how to lose, and how to process victory and defeat. And today, since that time, the presidency has presided over the worst public health crisis in history. We're now the sickest nation in the world. We've gone from 5% of our kids being 70% of adults are obese or overweight, and 77% of our children cannot qualify for military service. And that should be an eye-opener for all of us. And I'm so grateful to President Trump for his leadership and his vision of reinstituting the physical fitness test and challenging Americans to compete with each other in a friendly, congenial way, and to help each other get in shape so that we can prepare for a great future that this administration is going to provide for this country.
Well, that was great. Bobby, do you ever see a picture of Bobby working out? It's like, I said, you got to be kidding me. He's in great shape. I didn't know that about your father. That's very impressive, huh? Did he work out a lot, Bobby? He was a great guy.
He was an athlete, and he was always in good shape, and he played sports every weekend.
Your uncle was a great athlete too, wasn't he? A very good athlete.
My father was the only one of the brothers that lettered in football.
Oh,
Jack was a swimmer, which allowed him to save his crewmates when his ship went down off the Solomon Islands. So he was able to swim, drag one of his shipmates to shore because he'd been on the swim team.
it's a great story. Very interesting. Bobby, that was very good. It's quite interesting. Everybody was listening. You know, usually people are sort of wandering off as people speak, but not when Bryson speaks or when Gary speaks. Like, why don't you start it?
Yeah, Secretary Kennedy, thank you for those inspiring words from your uncle. And thank you to the President of the United States for helping reestablish this presidential fitness test. It's been something that we've been looking forward to doing for a long time, since 2013. I remember going through the presidential fitness test as a kid and getting that award, and it was quite an honor. So being up here and a part of that is quite instrumental and going to be amazing for our nation's future. Reestablishing the golden standard of the presidential fitness test has been a huge deal for me. Is that these kids now are going to have a healthy future. That's really an important thing for us to note here. Is that, you know, we want to make sure our kids have the best opportunity to succeed in life, and not only from their mind, but their health and their well-being. Their physical fitness is a huge priority to helping them become better human beings in general for our nation. And so what's quite honestly cool is Secretary Hegseth here has allowed us to be involved in over 160 schools, military bases with DOIA and institutionalizing this presidential fitness test in those schools. So I have to say thank you so much for helping establish that, and hopefully here soon we can do that across the nation, of which we believe will have a tremendous effect on these kids and their future. So I just wanted to say thank you to the president, thank you to the cabinet members for everything you've done. And we're going to go out there and have a great day on the field and give these kids some fun things to go and play with, whether it's football, soccer, doing some pull-ups. Can you guys do pull-ups? No? We'll help you. We'll help you. But that's a part of the presidential fitness test, is aspiring to help these kids become a better version of themselves. And that's what I couldn't be more excited to be a part of. I want to say thank you to the athletes that are here today and to Gary Player. He's always been an inspiration to me, and albeit I'll never get to your record, I thank you for giving me aspirations to hopefully get 1/8 of what you have. So thank you. And lastly, just want to say to the kids, most important thing you can do is always get 1% better a day. That's the most important thing I can give you guys. Try to be a better version of yourself every day, because one day you could be up here as well. You could be up here as well. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for everybody for being here. And I can't wait to see what we can do out there today.
Good. Thank you, Bryson. And this is really for Bryson, because he's worked so hard on this. He really put it together. He's got the best athletes in the world. I think it's actually 41 or 42. And all top people, all big names, top people, and they all want to do it. And Bryson, I was given a little idea by Bobby. He mentioned Camp David, and it's a special place. And I think we should have our next meeting, the full meeting at Camp David. Okay?
Sounds great.
So it's like a very special place.
Amazing.
So we'll do that. I'd love to have Gary say a few words. He's won 168 tournaments. Think of it. That means he won every weekend. I say, well, when did you not win? It's a record I think that will never be broken. And he won 18 majors, 9 senior and 9 regular, and many other things. And he is a very special guy. And, you know, if you think about the power of positive thinking, I don't know if Gary has the time, but he is the youngest winner of the British Open, what they call now the Open Championship. And he won it when he was 23, I think, Gary, right? 23.
Yeah.
If you want, you could tell that story, because these are all people that love sport and they love golf. But the way you asked, you'd like to practice. My name is Gary Player. I'm from South Africa. You're not giving me the time to practice. I must practice on this course. And the people thought, who is this? He said, you don't understand. I'm going to win this tournament. They never heard of him. He came out of South Africa. He's winning everything. He won the South African Open like 14 times or something. It's incredible. But if you want to tell that story, I think it's a fabulous story. But as a man with a powerful, it's really the power of positive thinking. Go ahead, Gary.
President, first of all, thank you very much for having us and hosting this today. I've been around almost every president for the last 65 years. And I've never seen a president that loves this country as much. They all did, and they all did great works. But I've never seen a president that loves the country as much as you do. And I say thank you. because I've traveled more miles than any human being before without being repetitive. And I've never seen a country like this. The freedom that exists, which is so important to all of us. And you know, sport can change the world. It can give people a chance that don't have any hope. It can give them hope, as we've seen. Many people with little education have become world champions. Only in America have you got that opportunity. And the other thing is, to Mr. Kennedy, who I have absolute utmost respect for, you know, my great dream now, I'm finished with tournament golf. My great dream is for the youth of America. The youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity. These are the people that are going to be the future champions. And when I talk, I always talk about the importance of fitness. It's so important. Please, can we bring it back in the schools? And as Senator Kennedy has so aptly said, to eat properly. This is so important, what you put in your body. And the big thing that I wish, and I pray every day, and wherever I talk, and I do a lot of talking, I say to the young people, just love this country, because you don't realize what's going on around the world. Even the students of the great universities of America really don't understand what's happening around the world today. There is a silent war taking place against America today. And what we've got to do is make these kids realize that freedom and exercise and education, start reading some books. Yes, keep your phone, but also read some good books. And listen to what Mr. Kennedy has said. What you put in your body is so important. What a wonderful job he's done, and all your cabinet members, in which I say thank you for maintaining this great word, this cherished word, freedom.
Thank you very much, Gary. And Gary is way ahead of his time, always. And how many Masters did you play in, Gary? It's a record, I think.
52.
52. Think of it, 52. And most of them you had to qualify. After you won it, how many times did you win it?
3.
3. So when you win it 3, you get to play a little bit. But most of the time you had to qualify. But 52 Masters, it's amazing. And did well in every single one of them. Pete, could I ask you to say a few words?
Sure.
And,
Yes, sir.
you could maybe speak a little bit about the subject that they want to hear about also, if you want. But just say a few words if you want.
Absolutely, sir. Well, fitness standards, competition, that's what we're all about at the War Department. So bringing those things to education is something I remember as a kid. I mean, the Presidential Physical Fitness Award was the pinnacle event at Forest Lake Elementary School every year. And I wanted to be the best. And I wasn't, but I worked my tail off every year to try to get there. Pull-ups, push-ups. I couldn't do the V-sit and reach. I could never beat that one. But I remember it because it was something my country clearly elevated as important. We should be in shape. We should compete. And there's winners and there's losers. That we need to infuse into our young people. And obviously it takes young people to run a military. And as the secretary pointed out, almost 3/4 of American young people do not qualify for military service. And a lot of that has to do with their physical fitness. So we're proud at the War Department to put this first into Department of War education activity. Our schools, 161 of them, across 30 installations. It's going to be mandatory for the young kids of those service members who use those schools. And we hope that's a pilot for all of American education. We hope the rest of America follows. We need young, strong, healthy Americans, whether you serve in the military or any other aspect of your life. And I think this presidential fitness test, Mr. President, is a perfect thing to restore that sets those standards high for young people and something for them to achieve. The idea that competition is bad is the beginning of decline of a nation. Competition is critical to who we are and ensuring America stays on top. And speaking of staying on top, Mr. President, we are, as we talked about this morning, Project Freedom is ongoing. We're ensuring that we have control of that strait, which we do. And ultimately, Iran has a choice to make, and they know we're in the strong position. We hope they make a wise choice, and nobody better to make that deal, Mr. President, than you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Doing a great job. A man who's in a you talk about athletes. This is a very serious athlete, happens to be in charge of a little thing called housing.
Yes,
Just
sir.
say a few words.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to all the great athletes and ambassadors that are here and to the kids that are here. You know, that word competition, I made a living competing, you know, and being in the top physical fitness that I could be and playing in the National Football League. And one thing I want to remind the kids and really our country is competition brings out the best in us, be it in sport, be it in business, be it in education. And you always want to be the best you can be, as Bryson said, every single day getting better. And I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to play in the National Football League, but it taught me how to be a good teammate. It taught me how to be humble in victory and to be steadfast, in defeat, as all these great athletes know. And Mr. President, thank you for just your leadership in our country, but also for this important issue of having physically healthy children and a physically healthy nation. And Bobby, thank you for reminding us of your uncle and your father, of how important it is for us to look at the man holistically, spiritually, morally, physically, mentally. And I think America historically has been the leader in all of those areas, but we are at a critical function in our nation. And so I would encourage everyone, this transcends politics. Physical fitness is good for every man and woman and child in the United States of America. So, Mr. President, I'm committed to this. I've seen the benefits of it in my own personal life. My family and my cabinet colleagues are 100% behind this. And so I would encourage all the young people of America, parents, teachers, educators, to take inventory and hear what these leaders are saying about the national security of our country, and make sure that we're encouraging our young people to get out, get your hands dirty, get your knees going, get on the monkey bars, start running and jumping and playing together. Because if you're a good teammate, the stronger team we are, the stronger country we are. So thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I have to just say we have a star named Linda McMahon, and she's made a tremendous amount of money on sports. They are great athletes, in my opinion. WWE, her great husband, what they built is incredible. They sold it for a fortune. Billions and billions of dollars. You made more than Bryson and Gary. If you add it up, would you say a few words? And she's one of our great stars. She is a phenomenal person. Go ahead.
Well, that intro is a hard act to follow.
That's tough.
But I think what we've talked a lot about fitness, and I think that's incredibly important because that's what all this is about. But the Greeks had an axiom: sound mind and a sound body. So as Secretary of Education, clearly, I want all of our schools to be able to adopt, these programs. We don't control curriculum from the Department of Education, but I sincerely hope the emphasis that is being refocused on kids and being fit and being able to compete. That's what you said, Pete. All of us are saying the same thing, but let's not forget, it's about also a sound mind and a sound body. In order to have a sound mind, you do have to eat well, you do have to exercise, you do have to train, and you do have to be fit to do that. And if we all are, we are the best of who we can be. So I encourage all of you to enjoy playing and competing and being good sports, while you're doing, but don't forget you're studying, all of your academics, because it is all part of the total package.
Thank you, Linda. Great job. Appreciate it. So we have a couple of other guys. If you guys wanted to say anything, or we'll just take some questions. And if you'd like, you could ask the big guy, how fast did he throw it? He threw it very fast. It was very scary. Scary. Do you want to say something?
I guess I'll just reiterate the thanks, Mr. President. Thank you, the cabinet members, for this opportunity to be here. Thank you, Bryson, to allow me to be in this elite company of people. It's a pleasure to meet all you guys. And
Let me look at you. You're an embodiment of the physical fitness test. So we gotta get you on
He
the
is
full
seriously a good physical specialist. And Coach, you've done great at Florida. Thank you very much. Sir.
No, incredible honor to be here. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I think it's imperative that we're doing this for our youth right now. Through experience, my wife and I have two young kids, 9 and 7. They're very active, very athletic, but I can see some of their classmates and some of their teammates, staring at screens all day. And again, as I said, it's really important that we do this now. And not only will I think this will improve the overall physical health of our young people, but I think it'll also help the mental health of our young people as well.
And just in case you don't know, he is a coach who just came to a team and just took it right from the beginning here. Just unbelievable job you've done.
Thank you very much.
You're a very rich guy. They'll pay him anything. I want to represent him. They'll pay him. He comes in and it just boom, this away. Congratulations. Who's going to win in hockey?
It's a tough one. Colorado's a favorite. I like Minnesota, though.
All right, we're going to watch. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
We're
good.
going to watch. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job you've done. Thank you. And we're going to go outside. Did you want to ask a few questions of any of the people here? Please.
Can I ask you about Iran, Mr. President?
Yes.
They fired at U.S. ships several times in the last 24 hours. What do they need to do to violate the ceasefire?
Well, you'll find out because I'll let you know. They know what to do and they know what to do. They know what not to do, more importantly, actually. And, they fired them in little boats with pea shooters, the pea shooters, little boat with little, why? Because they don't have any boats anymore. Their Navy is comprised of, they call them little boats, right?
Boats or little boats.
And they're fast, yeah. They're so fast that they had 8 of them and they're all gone. And they're fast, but they're not fast like a missile. A missile is slightly faster. They're all gone, so they're looking around for little boats to try and compete with our great Navy. We have a Navy that's unbelievable. We set up a blockade, as you know very well. Not one ship. A couple tried, and they got their engine shut out. You remember? I think it was it was a great display. A ship wanted to go through, break the blockade. They were warned not to. And then they were warned again by a young Annapolis captain of the ship with a great look, central casting. These people are central casting, I'll tell you. And he said, don't do it. Then he said, evacuate your engine room with this unbelievable loudspeaker that goes over water. He said, you have 10 seconds. And then from 4 miles with one bullet, it went right into the engine. And Gary, the ship stopped very quickly. They hit the engine with one. It wasn't a missile. They don't want to waste a missile on it. And we had another one, a 2000, one of the biggest ships in the world. They were warned. And he said, go back now. Go back right now. You will be shot at within 10 seconds. Yes, I am going back to Iran. I am going back. And that was the end of that, right? He went. It took them 10 miles the ship was so big, but they respect us. They didn't used to respect us, but they respect us more than we've ever been respected. Our country now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We had a country that was dead when we had that group of people that ran this country with their open borders, letting anybody come in from the Congo, from countries all over the world. They came in from prisons and mental institutions. We had a country that would have been a dead, if they won the election, this country would have been a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said recently that if Iranians were armed, could take over their regime. Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns. And when they start shooting them right between the eyes and you see a guy fall and another one fall and you have no guns, very few people would be able to stand there and do it. I understand. I tell them not to. Don't forget, they killed 42,000 people last month, 42,000 unarmed protesters. They have no guns. So they had a 250,000 people crowd and they had snipers. They had like 4 or 5 snipers in buildings up high. And you're standing there and all of a sudden the guy on your left goes down and that's what happened with the women protest. They had 200,000 women protesting a year ago and everyone thought that was the end of Iran. And then all of a sudden a woman dropped dead with a bullet right there, always right there. Then another woman dropped and then the word started to spread and then there was panic and then they ran and, so I don't want that to happen. We don't need that, we don't need it. But the only reason that they want to protest so badly, but they don't have weapons. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, you have a very important meeting with President Xi in Beijing. Secretary Bessent has said that a top priority on the agenda will be Iran. What do you hope to achieve with President Xi as it relates to Iran?
Well, I have a very good relationship with President Xi. I find him to be a tremendous guy. And we get along well, and you see how we do. We're doing a lot of business with China and making a lot of money. We're making a lot of money. It's different than it used to be. But I'll be talking about that'll be one subject. But he's been very nice about this. In all fairness, he gets like 60% of his oil from Hormuz, and I think he's been very respectful. We haven't been challenged by China. They don't challenge us, and he wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd do that because of me. But I think he's been very respectful, And we've offered, if he wants to send the ships to the United States. I think one of the big things that's happened is I made a statement, send your ships to Texas. It's not that much further. Send your ships to Louisiana, send your ships to Alaska. Alaska is actually very close to a lot of the Asian countries. People don't realize it, Japan is back and forth. It's like, it doesn't seem it, but it's a very short route, 2 days shorter than almost any other route. We're making tremendous big deals with South Korea and with Japan. But I said, send your ships. All of a sudden, I don't know if you saw the graph today, and this is Space Force, which I created. Space Force has, they just sent out some photos of the ships that are lined up all the way down the ocean, like it's a highway. It looks like the Long Island Expressway for ships. And they're all heading to Texas, Louisiana. We've made up this list, and that's why. When I decided that I have to do this for the good of the world, not just the United States, in a way, we would have been in less trouble than a lot of other places. Certainly the Middle East would have been blown up. There wouldn't be a Middle East anymore. They would have taken over the Middle East. Now they're trying to survive, and they won't be successful unless they make a deal. Oh, if they don't make a deal, they won't be successful. It'll go very quickly and methodically. Believe me, it'll be very easy. But we have so many alternatives. It's amazing. And nobody knew this, because as an example, Japan got 90% of their oil, most of their energy, but most of their oil from the Hormuz Strait. South Korea got 43% of it. By the way, their ship was shot at. They were not in the cavalcade of ships. They decided to go it alone, and their ship got the hell knocked out of it yesterday. But they didn't shoot the ships that were guarded by us. I'll tell you that. We knocked down a lot of missiles. So what happens is that we have a situation where we have total control. As you know, the blockade's been amazing. It's like a piece of steel. Nobody's going to challenge the blockade. And I think it's working out very well. We're going to see. I can say this, Iran wants to make a deal. What I don't like about Iran is they'll talk to me with such great respect. And then they'll go on television. They'll say, we did not speak to the president. We did not. I just spoke to, we did not speak to the president. So they play games. But let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them. Who wouldn't? Please.
On the filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot about wanting to eliminate the filibuster. It hasn't happened. Are you disappointed in Leader?
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed. I like John a lot, but he has a couple of Republicans that are foolish people. A couple of them I like, a couple of them I can't stand, actually, if you want to know the truth. Although I am, according to CNN, 100% approval within the Republican Party. That's better than your record, Gary. I'm at 100% approval. Did you see the CNN poll? Nobody talks about it. CNN, I think the people that did that poll probably got fired. But within the Republican Party and MAGA, which is basically 100% of the party, I think, but 100%. No, I think that you're going to see some very interesting things. The filibuster, if you had it, we should have the Save America Act. We should have voter identification, voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. We should have mail-in voting for the military and people that need it, but not for everybody. Because anytime you have mail-in voting, they're going to cheat. And they cheat like dogs. And they have to cheat. In all fairness to the Democrats, when you have men and women sports, when you have open borders, when you have transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids. Of your children, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
So, Mr. President, thank you. When Iran is seeing 50% inflation, they've moved money from their sovereign
Their economy is crashing.
Would you allow their financial system then to fail?
Well, I guess so, because we're making it fail. Right?
Is that what it takes?
I hope it fails.
Is that what it takes?
You know why? Because I want to win. It takes getting pounded on by the military, I think, for more. But in addition to that, it is failing. We have sanctions on them, tremendous sanctions. Scott Bessent's done a great job. We have sanctions that nobody's ever seen before. No, they're failing. Their currency is worthless. Their inflation is probably 150%. The real number is 150%. They aren't paying their soldiers. They can't pay their soldiers. The money is worthless. No, they should do the smart thing, you know? They should do the smart thing, and because we don't want to go in and kill people. We really don't. I don't want to. It's too tough. Great people. I know the people. I have so many Iranian friends from New York and from other places over the years. They're great people. I don't want to kill those people.
Gas prices in the United States are.
Shooting incident yesterday, is it possible
Gas-
that you can talk about
Well,
that?
wait, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, gas prices in the United States are $1.48 cents a gallon.
Oh,
You said they would go back down.
Oh, they
We'll
will.
Project.
They'll drop
Freedom.
lower than they were before.
We'll Project Freedom, supporting those ships to make that happen.
Well, it will, because, so people don't realize some of these tankers hold 2 million barrels. One of them holds 4, I think it's the largest one in the world. That sucker is big. I've never seen anything like it, a ship. It's bigger than aircraft carriers. And yeah, it has a big impact. It's so much. You know, there are like 400 ships in there, 400. That in itself. Now, the best is when it ends and just neutralizes. But what's happening is people are learning to buy oil from the United States. I mean, they're making the trip and they have safer. Probably it's a better product too, by the way. But they're learning to buy, they're changing their habits. So when I did this, I thought the market would go down 25%. And I thought that was a great deal if it did. If it went down 25%, I was satisfied. I said, because we cannot let these people have a nuclear weapon. They'll use it. We can't. I also thought oil would go up to 200, 250, maybe 300. And I knew it would be short term, but I thought it would go. I looked today, it's like at 102. And that's a very small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon from people that are really mentally deranged. Yeah.
President, just on politics.
The world is like, by the way, other presidents should have done this. 47 years they've been toying with these stupid people. In many cases, stupid people. This should have been done by Obama. He went the other way. He was giving them cash. He sent plane loads of Boeing 757, took the seats out and put green cash, 1.7 billion in the plane. Every bank in Virginia, DC, and Maryland was stripped of their cash. They took out all the cash from the banks. They put it into a plane, a Boeing 757 packed with cash, and they flew it to Iran, and they let these guys just, I don't know what the hell they did with it, but they took it and then gave them billions and billions of dollars and bribed them basically to be friends. And after giving them tens of billions of dollars, they screwed Obama, okay? That's not the way we play. No, we do it the old-fashioned way. And they should wave. They're very proud. Maybe you won't see a white flag, but essentially that's already what they are. They should wave the white flag of surrender. In hockey, they say uncle, right? When are they gonna cry uncle? But and they have another expression. If this were a fight, they would stop it. But you know, we have to go out and we have to do it. And it's very sad to see. Even shooting those boats, they've got 3, 4 guys. They got a little machine gun in front. They're shooting at one of our ships that's meant for it. It bounces, they don't even know they're being shot at. And then they take it out with an Apache helicopter in about 2 seconds. They go, Apache, ship, northwest 10 degrees. Turns around, boom. I don't like that, you know? You lose people. All these people, it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. One thing we have the greatest military in the world. I built it.
So much.
Because I built it in my first term. I didn't think I'd be using it, at least so much in my second term. But we have the greatest military, the best equipment in the world. We had 111 missiles shot at one of our assets, one of the aircraft carriers, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Think of this, 111 sophisticated missiles shot at one of our aircraft carriers. And every single one of those missiles was shot down with no problem whatsoever. if you would have said that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it would have been an impossibility. You would have had to take those shots. Every single missile was laying in the water far away. I mean, they weren't even upset. And they're the coolest people. If you ever see them, you know, Pete, when they do the missile, right? They say missile coming, and these guys go, it's like almost like, they're very smart. These are extremely smart people. They go to very good schools, but they shot down, who would think they're like a needle in a haystack. 111 missiles shot. 111 missiles were knocked down into the water. Didn't even get close to the aircraft carrier. No, there's nobody has a military like them. I want to go out and watch these great athletes. I'm not talking about him and him and him. I'm talking about these kids because I think you're going to be far better as an athlete than anybody behind you, okay? Do you agree? I think you're going to be a better athlete. What sport do you play?
I played football.
Oh, there you go. Do you think you're going to be better than him? You'll be faster. You're going to be so much faster than him. He's going to be like lightning. He was known for his speed, by the way. I don't know. I think pretty good. What sport do you play?
Didn't sign me up, but I'm trying to play gymnastics.
Gymnastics. Oh, wow. That's a good sport.
It's a great sport.
What do you play?
I do dance, but I also do volleyball.
Oh, nice.
Hey, nice and tall to be a volleyball player.
Amazing.
What about you? Look at this guy. He's a big guy.
Me, I'm doing football right now, and next year I'm going to be trying to do powerlifting.
Oh, whoa.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
And you'll never compete against women in powerlifting.
No, sir.
Did you see that they had a man powerlifter? He decided to go the opposite direction. He took a record, stood for 18 years. He beat it by 119 pounds. Okay? They put the little quarter of an ounce. And to 18 years it stood. This guy came, he was a failed powerlifter. But he went on the other side and he decided that he wanted to go into women's sports and he broke the record by 118 pounds. Think that's fair? So I don't think we'll have to worry about you.
Yes, sir.
You're going to do good. Are you a strong person?
Yes, sir.
Good. You think you can take me in a fight? I think you could. Hey, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? How about you? What sport do you play?
I play volleyball, and in the summer, I'm trying to get into soccer.
Wow. Wow. And with your height, do you smash the ball, the volleyball? Do you get up high? Can you jump high?
Not very.
Soccer might be better. I don't want to be. I'm just looking. I think she'd be a great soccer player. That's good. Good luck, okay? What about you?
Hockey and golf.
Well, and you know that guy, right?
Yes.
You know that guy. Do you think you could be as good as him someday? Not easy.
Better.
Won't be better.
Mr.
And you play
President,
golf?
this young man today, of all the young men I've met, he had the best manners
Wow.
possible. He was a smile. I said, "How are you?" He looked me in the eye and he said, "Fine, thank you, sir. How are you?" Not just
Wow.
good. Tremendous.
Are you a good golfer?
Yes.
So what's your handicap? Do you have a handicap yet?
15.
So this man is 90 years old. Do you think you could beat him? I'm betting on Gary. I'm betting on Gary.
You will.
Hey, you know what else? And he doesn't choke. It's a big deal. You know, a lot of guys can play, but the flag goes up and bad things happen. And I think being in good shape helps you in that respect too, Gary.
You see, if it wasn't a cherished table, this is very historic. I could get on this table and do 50 push-ups like that. Most people can't do that, even when they're going in the army, right?
Yes.
So you've got to keep in shape.
Yes, sir.
And you tell everybody how you love this country,
Yes.
okay?
Good. Good way to end. So we're going to go out. We're going to say hello to the athletes. We have young and great athletes. We also have some big superstars out there waiting for us. And thank you very much. And Bryson, thank you very much. You really took this and brought it to a level. It's true. Biden and President Obama decided that it wasn't important, and they're so wrong. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, President. 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 Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, everybody.
Can you hear me now? Okay. That was so sweet. That was so sweet. Those kids are so adorable. I see you guys getting along in the chat. Thank you guys for being members. I see you. Listen, Scott, yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I was trying to think of what to play next, and then I saw the Straight Up Hermuse in the chat. So that's where we're going to go. You're welcome, Plan B. You're welcome. Okay. Let's go here. I'm gonna give you guys, well, actually, we'll get an update of what's happening with Operation Epic Fury, okay? Hang on. Here we go. I got you. Let's get rid of that. Pete Hegseth, of course. Wait, can you guys see that?
Well, as you know,
Does it look okay
President
on
Trump
your
has
end?
directed U.S.
Oh.
Central Command
Anyway.
to restart the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz under the umbrella of Project Freedom. To be clear, this operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope, and temporary in duration, with one mission: protecting innocent commercial shipping from Iranian aggression. American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight, but Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway. Iran is the clear aggressor, harassing civilian vessels, threatening mariners from every nation indiscriminately, and weaponizing a critical choke point for its own financial benefit, or at least trying to. For too long, Iran has been harassing ships, shooting at civilian tankers from all nations, and trying to impose a tolling system. Iran's plan, a form of international extortion, is unacceptable. That ends with Project Freedom. 2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this fact. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led.
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't fit. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Wait. Is that better, you guys? It looks okay? Because I don't know. It's just looking weird on my end because my computer's glitching. But
the way,
let me know if it's
commercial
better.
and military, shouldering the
you for
initial
letting me
risk
know.
from the
Yeah.
front, as Americans always do. And
Good.
right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world
Sorry.
are lining up to transit. CENTCOM, along with partner nations, is in active communication with hundreds of ships, shipping companies, and insurers. All of these ships from all around the world want to get out of the Iranian trap that they have been stuck inside. As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. American destroyers are on station, supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels, except Iran's, of course. which is why our ironclad blockade remains in full effect as well. In fact, 6 ships tried to run the blockade out of Iranian ports as Project Freedom commenced, and they were all turned around. This is more than strategy, it's also humanitarian. By breaking Iran's illegal stranglehold, we're protecting the lives and livelihoods of sailors from dozens of countries, securing global energy routes, and preventing shortages that hit the world's poorest people the hardest. Once again, America is using its strength to lift up others. Iran is trying to subjugate the world. To what remains of Iran's forces, if you attack American troops or innocent commercial shipping, you will face overwhelming and devastating American firepower. The president has been very clear about this. We prefer this to be a peaceful operation, but are locked and loaded to defend our people, our ships, our aircraft, and this mission without hesitation. To Iran, let innocent ships pass freely. These international waters belong to all nations, not to Iran to tax, toll, or control. To our partners, allies, and the rest of the world, this is a temporary mission for us. As I've said before, the world needs this waterway a lot more than we do. We're stabilizing the situation so commerce can flow again, but we expect the world to step up. At the appropriate time and soon, we will hand responsibility back to you. To the incredible Americans executing this mission right now, simply thank you. Your courage, your readiness, your unmatched professionalism and precision are why the world can breathe easier today and every day. You are and always will be the greatest fighting force in human history, unmatched always. Project Freedom is underway. Commerce will be flowing, and America is once again leading with strength, clarity, and purpose for the benefit of the entire world. Our will is unshakable. God bless our troops, and God bless the mighty United States Navy as well. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. On Sunday, at the direction of the President, CENTCOM initiated Project Freedom with the objective of facilitating the safe passage of international commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the past 7 weeks, Iran's repeatedly threatened and attacked commercial shipping in the Strait in order to effectively cut off commercial traffic and damage the global economy. By obstructing one of the world's most critical maritime checkpoints, a vital transit route for approximately 1/5 of the global oil consumption, Iran is weaponizing the global supply chain. This action disregards established navigational rights and the law of the sea, and the regime led by the IRGC is effectively attempting to hold the entire global economy hostage. Let me give you an update of the last few days of activities. And if you take a look at the map here, as the Secretary said, the United States has established Project Freedom to open up the Strait of Hormuz. This graphic highlights the kinetic engagements that the Iranians have attempted to make or have taken against the region. The green dots and blue dots show the groupings of commercial cargo and tanker vessels. And the United States has established a significant presence over the strait here in order to open up the free flow of commerce, noting the blockade still continues along the eastern flank. The map shows the examples and samples of Iranian attacks against commercial vessels in the strait, as well as the Gulf of Oman and up in the Arabian Gulf. Since the ceasefire was announced, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times and seized 2 container ships, and they've attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations at this point. You can also see the group of tankers and cargo vessels in the U.S. blockade line, as I mentioned. As a result of Iran's indiscriminate attacks across the region, there are currently 22,500 mariners embarked on more than 1,550 commercial vessels trapped in the Arabian Gulf, unable to transit. In addition to shipping, Iran has continued to deliberately attack its neighbors. Just yesterday, Iran attacked Oman once and the UAE 3 times, including an attack on Fujairah oil terminal, which was successfully defeated. They also launched cruise missiles, drones, small boats at U.S. forces defending commercial shipping in the Straits, and United States Navy MH-60 helicopters and Army AH-64 Apache helicopters successfully defeated those threats. Thus far, today is quieter. Let me describe this defensive operation just a few clicks down for you. As the Secretary said, Project Freedom is designed to protect commercial shipping and help restore the flow of commerce through the Strait and sustain freedom of navigation. CENTCOM has established an enhanced security area on the southern side of the Strait that is now protected by U.S. land, naval, and air assets to help defeat further Iranian aggression against commercial shipping. I'd like to share a little bit more about U.S. capabilities, but for operational security purposes, I'm not going to get into specific details out there. On the surface, guided missile destroyers and other warships are detecting and defeating Iranian threats. This includes fast boats and one-way attack drones. In the air, more than 100 fighters, attack aircraft, and other manned and unmanned aircraft synchronized by the 82nd Airborne Division are in the air 24 hours a day, providing defensive overwatch for the enhanced security area and its approaches that I discussed. These forces are comprised of over 15,000 American service members and have established localized air and sea control to protect against Iranian threats. Commercial vessels that transit through the area will see, hear, and frankly feel U.S. combat power around them on the sea, in the skies, and on the radio. And as of this morning, as was mentioned prior, 2 U.S. flag merchant vessels have transited, and we anticipate more to transit over the coming days. Further up the Gulf, U.S. Naval Forces Central Command continues to work to identify and mitigate any threats. Beyond Project Freedom, CENTCOM and the rest of the Joint Force remain ready to resume major combat operations against Iran if ordered to do so. No adversary should mistake our current restraint with a lack of resolve. And the President has said, as the Secretary has, that now is the time for those with equity stake in the Strait to come assist. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I want to take a moment to highlight part of our joint force today. And today I want to talk about the paratroopers of the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division. When the President or the Secretary need immediate, scalable, and lethal combat power in CENTCOM or elsewhere, the All-American Division answers the call. The 82nd is the core of our nation's immediate response force and ready to deploy within hours of notice. These paratroopers are capable of accomplishing any mission in any environment, constantly training, constantly ready to jump from Air Force aircraft into ground combat and seize key terrain if ordered to do so, just like their predecessors did in Sicily and Normandy in World War II, or to secure or enable the follow-on forces to flow into theater as they did in Grenada or Panama. They can do the range of missions from counterinsurgency to counterterrorism operations to power projection, as they have many times over the course of the history of this great division. They can do all these things because they're incredibly well-trained, well-equipped, and well-led, but also because of the indomitable spirit of the All-American paratrooper. Every single one of them volunteered for this role, volunteered to go to airborne training, and volunteered to serve. But this division is now more than just a formation that we use for forcible entries. For example, just today, they are out there coordinating, integrating, and synchronizing land, air, space, sea, and cyber forces using joint all-domain command and control. They use next-generation tactical networks that are AI-enabled to augment intelligence and operations, and they seamlessly synchronize all of these effects and are doing so in support of Project Freedom as we speak. The relentless focus on technical innovation allows the commanders out there in the field to see, sense, and understand the opportunities that are in front of them, along with the associated risks, and make smart decisions out on the objective. With incredible courage, tenacity, and grit, they are going all the way every day. And whenever the nation calls on them, they are there to answer the call. We are grateful for their service and their leadership. Lastly, before I close, as I often do, I want to remember some of our fallen. Today, we remember Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Brianna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders of the 718th Engineering Company, U.S. Army Reserves, out of Fort Benning, Georgia. They were tragically killed on January 28th, 2024, when attacked by an Iranian-backed proxy force at Tower 22 in Jordan. We continue to carry on their memories. We remember their names. We remember their families. And the Secretary and I are deeply grateful for all of our deployed forces who are out there doing our nation's work. And sir, with that, I'll kick it back over to you.
Very good. We'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Do you assess, Mr. Secretary, do you assess what's left of this small boat fleet to be a significant threat or a nuisance to be managed? And then secondly, what is your message to critics who say that the U.S. doesn't have a strategy in this mission?
Well, any threat needs to be taken seriously. And just like those 6 attack boats that the chairman mentioned were taken seriously and dealt with before there were any real threat to the American military vessels that they were approaching. And that is it. Small craft like that are all that Iran has left. Their ability to get close with a destroyer of the capabilities that we have is limited, but we're going to take it very seriously and kinetically, quickly. We're not going to allow a threat to gather. And I can tell you, even from just this morning, the strategy remains laser focused. In fact, what I think you see from Project Freedom is that we're not allowing ourselves to get distracted. This is a separate and distinct effort, temporary in nature, that we plan to hand over to the world. The world has expressed a desire to be a part of this, as is often the case, or maybe almost always the case. American leadership is required. So the president was willing to undertake this, send commercial ships through, send destroyers in, provide this red, white, and blue bubble of protection, and encourage the world to step up. Because ultimately, this waterway is, as I said, far more crucial to the rest of the world, and they need to have the ability to defend it. So I think this is a reflection of a laser-focused strategy, actually, right here.
Morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zia, Real America's Voice. I wanted to ask you of any of the fast boats that have been either sunk or identified, are there any armaments larger than, say, small, AK-47 type stuff, or any anti-ship cruise missiles identified? And my second question is, if there's a divide between the IRGC and Tehran, is there a way to get Tehran to agree to let us go after the IRGC that is doing these attacks without violating the ceasefire?
Well, right now, anything coming at our crafts, regardless of what's on it, has to be defended against, and that's the case. I don't know what the exact armaments were on those fast boats.
Small arms, nothing significant on the fast boats.
Rifles or small machine guns. There were some small coastal cruise missiles shot down as well. So there's some frothiness in the beginning aspects of this that were dealt with very directly by our destroyers, and we're communicating both overtly and quietly to the Iranians to allow this defensive operation to happen on behalf of the world. There are some actions the IRGC takes sometimes that are outside the bounds of what maybe Iranian negotiators would like. That's their job to rein that in and ultimately create a condition for a deal, right? That's not something I talked about in these remarks, but that's happening in real time. Iran has an ability to make that deal. But what we're demonstrating with Project Freedom is they don't control the strait. I mean, we know Iran is embarrassed by the fact that our blockade is holding and we can run ships through, and we're going to help the world run ships through. And if they hold it at issue, the whole world knows who's doing it. It's not us. We're willing to open it up. It's Iran. And that creates a dilemma for them. We hope they make a deal. Yes.
Thank you, sir. My first question is for General Kane, Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. You said that the attacks by Iran so far are below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. What is that threshold? And then for Secretary Hegseth, are there still concerns about mines in the strait? And can you kind of clarify these reports of kamikaze dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the kamikaze dolphin thing. It's like sharks with laser beams,
what it
right?
is.
The threshold of restarting is a political decision above my pay grade. What I'll say is it's low harassing fire right now. It feels like Iran is grasping at straws to try to do something across the southern flank. To your question, David, their command and control structure remains very fractured, and I think they're struggling to maintain control down echelon at the edge. But it's still pretty low level kinetics at this point in time.
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't. Ultimately, any follow-on effort, if there are mines identified, would be something that some of our units could undertake or the world could undertake. But right now, we know we have a lane of safe passage that commercial shipping can flow through.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us. We fired at Iran. Just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project. And we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. And ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire. But certainly we would urge Iran to be prudent in the actions that they take to keep that underneath this threshold. This is about the straits. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about international waterways. This is about free flow of commerce, all the things that happened before, and only Iran is contesting. So right now the ceasefire certainly holds, but we're going to be watching very, very closely. Absolutely.
Secretary
James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. General, thank you. I want to first express my gratitude and admiration for the work you do and for everyone involved in our armed forces, and also for the accomplishments of Operation Epic Fury, which I think are too often dismissed too lightly. But those accomplishments don't obscure, I think, a central default that has occurred here, and I would like you both to address it. On the first day of this conflict, President Trump addressed the Iranian people directly and said, when we're finished, take over your government. It'll be yours to take. And then on the seventh day of the conflict, in a Truth Social post, the president said, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except, all caps, exclamation mark, unconditional surrender. What happens to that pledge to the Iranians? And when did the president decide to capitulate on his demand for unconditional surrender?
Well, James, I wouldn't, you started out nicely, but you ended exactly where we knew you would end. The president hasn't capitulated on anything. He holds the cards. We maintain the upper hand, and Project Freedom only strengthens that hand. And so he will ensure that whatever deal is made or whatever end state is reached creates ensuring that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, which is number one, and he's been focused on that, and the deal and discussions are centered on that. And what the Iranian people take advantage of after the fact is up to them, and he's been very clear about that. And maybe you do it now, maybe it happens later, but ultimately he's also been clear, we're not going to entangle this into some nation-building project. Our objectives are clear. They've been pursued from day one. Hopefully the Iranian people take advantage of that because they're being taken advantage of by this regime. As you know, 45,000 Iranians, innocent Iranians, killed before the outset of this. That's what this government does, kills their own innocent civilians. Getting out from underneath that is going to be a challenge of the Iranian people, and we certainly hope they take advantage of that. Thank you.
Can I have one follow, please?
Go ahead. Everybody else
one follow.
follows directives. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Can you share any information regarding the South Korean ship that was reportedly hit by Iran? Is Seoul in contact with the U.S. military about it? And is there any indication that they would heed Trump's call made on social media to join Project Freedom?
We hope so. We're in contact with that ship, CENTCOM, I should say, and the Maritime Coordination Forces are in touch. And I think targeting like that is a reflection of the indiscriminate nature of what Iran is doing. We hope South Korea would step up, just like we hope Japan would step up, just like we hope Australia would step up, just like we hope Europe steps up. But we're not waiting for them to do so. We're looking to set the conditions to hand to them. But the president was clear in his truth message that, hey, this is your ship. You should take part in helping to defend it. We very much hope they do. James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, in terms of new U.S. intelligence reports suggest that the timeline for the war in Iran to get a nuclear weapon has not changed since last summer, still at 9 to 12 months. Is that intelligence wrong? How can this be after so much bombing? And for General Kane, going on back onto what you're talking about, the Strait of Hormuz, the president recently said that the blockade is even more effective than bombing. So why didn't we start the campaign with the blockade? And initially, how many planned ships do you plan to escort or take through commercial ships to the Strait of Hormuz today or in the coming days?
Well, we don't discuss the specifics about intel, and anybody that does shouldn't be. And I can't confirm or deny whether that is indeed correct. Speculation, as far as I'm concerned, coming from you. But ultimately, what Operation Midnight Hammer did in the obliteration of those facilities was set back their program. And then, because of the efforts of that 12-day war, the president was able to recognize that this threat, while they continued to seek nuclear capabilities, their will was still there to seek a nuclear bomb. Ultimately, they were creating a conventional umbrella of so many missiles and so many capabilities that no one would want to challenge them. Think of the North Korea. This is the North Korea strategy. We have so many conventional capabilities, you won't do something about it. And underneath that, we're going to develop more nuclear capabilities. So the will was still there. President Trump had the courage to say, we have to dismantle and take on those conventional capabilities while the nuclear facilities are watched 24/7 and overwatched. And we will ensure one way or another, hopefully Iran chooses a deal, that they give up those ambitions, give up those capabilities, and we're able to confirm that every step of the way. So that has been, President Trump's been focused on it. He's set them back like no other president. He ripped up the terrible deal that would have given them a bomb. He took care of it in Midnight Hammer. We're watching it right now, and ultimately feel good about the fact that the end state will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Go ahead.
Sir, I'll let CENTCOM talk to the number of ships they're going to take through because they're the nearest ones to talking to the commercial shippers, and I don't want to get out in front of them. On the order and sequence around the military objectives, that's a decision the president and the secretary go get us at. And at the time, we were focused on the primary objectives that were in front of us. Thank you.
Ryan Morgan with the Epic Times. On Friday, President Trump notified Congress that the hostilities that began on February 28 had terminated. That came on the deadline of the 60-day war powers deadline. Will this administration be seeking congressional approval for any further military operations if the ceasefire breaks down?
Our view is the one you described, that ultimately with the ceasefire, the clock stops. If it were to restart, that would be the president's decision. That option is always there, and Iran knows that, and that's why their choices in Project Freedom are important. The president retains the opportunity and the capabilities, more capabilities than we had at the start of this, to restart major combat operations if necessary. If Iran is not willing to follow through on its side of the bargain or make a deal, then the War Department is postured, locked, loaded, and ready to go. We hope it doesn't have to go in that direction, but Admiral Cooper and our forces are in a 3-point stance and ready to go. Yeah, last question.
Thank you. Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. In recent weeks, both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's head of Mossad have stated their intent not to cease combat with the Iranians. Netanyahu put this on Twitter. Israel's head of Mossad said Israel's goals are not finished until the Iranian government collapses. And so they're referring to the government that President Trump has brokered a ceasefire with and is working on a lasting peace in the region with. And so that's something many Americans, especially American farmers, are hoping he does get to a lasting peace. And so if President Trump is successful in that, and the Israelis are explicitly stating their intent to continue fighting at a later date, how can you ensure America doesn't get roped back into a war if that comes? And secondly, with Netanyahu comfortable tweeting something like that out, and also Netanyahu has continued bombing Lebanon despite President Trump
I would
explicitly
say your
telling him
question
not
is
to.
based on the false premise that somehow President Trump is being pulled in by Prime Minister Netanyahu to any of these actions. And that's where you're going. Just to be clear, President Trump has led at every step of this based on his view of American interest and America first. And we're grateful that Israelis have been very capable partners at many steps of this. And they may have some objectives at times that are slightly different than ours. But there's only one hand on the wheel ultimately directing this, whether it's Project Freedom or previously Operation Epic Fury, and it's President Trump. So we're grateful for their input, their insights, the existential nature of the threat they face from an Iranian bomb, the capabilities that they can bring to that, but ultimately the coordination will happen with the leadership of President Trump. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Did you guys like that? I'm glad to see you guys get along in the chat. Let me pull something up for you. Damage, right? As you can see, it just makes my day. Okay, now let me make sure that I format this. I think this next video is quite appropriate. I think you'll like it. And if not, hey, let's go.
Thank you.
Our next president.
We love you too. Thank you all. Please take a seat. We're going to be here. You gave a politician a microphone. We got about 3 hours to go, so I don't want anybody, no heat exhaustion. I want to give, first of all, before we really get started here, I've got a few shout outs here and a few words of gratitude.
Here we
First
go,
of all,
right?
I have to say thank you to Congressman Nunn for the kind introduction. That was an amazing, it's probably the best introduction I think I've ever gotten in my life. But most importantly, for being a good fighter for the people of this district. Because when you send somebody to Congress, you're never, ever going to agree with every single thing that they do, but you deserve in the halls of power. And especially when the cameras are off, they're thinking about you, about your families, and about your future. And a guy that you have serving this district, Congressman Nunn, is one of those guys who does the right thing, not just when the cameras are on, but when the cameras are off too. And remember, when the President of the United States at the State of the Union address asked everybody, please stand if you agree with the statement that America's government ought to be fighting for America's citizens rather than illegal aliens, Congressman Nunn was standing up and fighting for you, and none of the congressional Democrats could raise their hand. So along with Zach Nunn, we have got President Trump endorsed, and of course, endorsed by me too. Endorsed candidates for Congress. We have got in the room. Where's Chris? Please stand up and be recognized. Chris, thank you for everything. I saw Chris backstage. He said he doesn't really have an opponent. And I said, that must be nice. Of course, we ran against Kamala Harris and Tim Walz last election, so not all that different, but that's okay. That's okay. We've got Joe Mitchell in the house. Where's Joe? Please stand up. Joe, thank you. I've got to give a special note of thanks to our incredible Agriculture Secretary in Washington, Brooke Rollins, my dear friend Brooke. Thank you for everything that you do. We've got your great governor here in Iowa, Kim Reynolds. Kim, thank you so much for being here. We've got Iowa GOP Chair Jeff Kaufman. Jeff, please stand up and say hello. Thank you, Jeff. I asked Jeff backstage, I said, how are these elections going? And Jeff said they're going great, so they better be. We have got Iowa AG Brenna Bird, the great Brenna Bird. Brenna, thank you. Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate. Thank you, Paul. Congressman Randy Feenstra. Randy, thank you. And then I want to recognize some of the great Iowa State lawmakers that we have. I will read their names here. We've got Senate President Amy Sinclair, President Pro Tem Ken Rosenboom. We got Charlie Thompson.
All right,
Charlie,
guys.
thank you.
We're trying to get to the heart of the speech. We got to the challenge. What? We want to hear what he's got to say.
to stand for the simple principle that who fight for you, who fight for the people of this district, or who fight for corruption and fraud. Because I'm 41 years old, and for the first time in my entire life, I think we have seen a major political party in the United States of America completely go off the rails. They're not just talking about different views on taxes or on regulation or on the Clean Water Act, as important as all of those things are. They're talking about who does the government actually stand and fight for. When the President of the United States asked the entire Congress to stand for the simple principle that the people's government ought fight for the American people first, what did we see? We saw every single congressional Democrat sit on their hands. They didn't care about you. They didn't care about the people of this district. They didn't care about the farmers or the factory workers or the people who actually make this country run. Because now we have in Washington, D.C., a Democrat Party that is so focused on illegal immigration, that is so focused on people who don't have the legal right to be here, that is so focused on fraud because so many of their friends get rich from fraud that they forgot to look after you. And whatever your political views, whether you're a sensible Republican, independent, or even a sensible Democrat, because I know we got a lot of those in Iowa, not in Washington, D.C. I think that you deserve to have a president of the United States and a congressman like Zach Dunn who fights for you every single day, and that's what he's been doing. Now, let me just give you a very concrete example of what fighting for you looks like. This is not abstract. This is not words written on a paper. This is real people's lives, and this is real dollars and cents. A few years ago, I talked to the owners of this factory who told me the great products that they were making. They were paying their workers a good wage. They were building a great business right here in Iowa. You know, this company was started in 2009, the year that I graduated from college. Sorry for anybody. Makes me kind of young. But here's the thing. To start a business in 2009 was a tough thing to do. It was the middle of the global financial crisis. You had to take some real risk. And what did this business find? After building a great business, after paying hundreds of people a solid wage, what did this business find? That foreign countries, in particular the People's Republic of China, was dumping goods, undercutting the wages of the workers of this factory, and driving this place out of business. They were using cheap labor, sometimes slave labor, to try to steal jobs from the hardworking people of this district and this factory floor. And for my entire life, we had presidents and politicians of both parties who didn't do a single thing to stop it and said, oh, by the way, absolutely, bring those cheap goods into our country. Bring those things that were built by hands of slaves rather than the hands of our own workers. And of course, we knew that when they drove those factories out of business, then they'd come in and jack up the price right after. So what happened? For 41 years, we all know the story. The factories closed down. My hometown, this is the story of my hometown, where I grew up in a community that was proud, where people built things, where new homes were being made. High school, the manufacturers were laying people off. Those big, beautiful factories were shuttering their doors. And we never had a political movement that said enough is enough until Donald J. Trump and Zach Dunn came along. And you know what we said? The Democrats, every day they will tell you, they will fight against our policies to try to bring back American manufacturing. They will fight against our policies that try to fight back against those people who would dump that stuff into our communities. And you know what we say? We say that our tax policy ought to be pretty simple, and that's exactly what it has been. If you're building right here in Iowa, if you're making something right here in Iowa, if you're working every single day right here in Iowa, you deserve a tax cut, and that's exactly what we delivered with Congressman Dunn. But if you're a foreign country dumping that garbage into our country, if you're trying to undercut the wages of Iowa workers, if you're trying to steal the jobs from Iowa farmers and Iowa manufacturers, you know what you're going to do? You're going to pay a big fat tariff before you bring anything into our country, because we're protecting the jobs of our workers and our people for a change. And that's all this is about. When you hear the Democrats attack the Trump administration's tax policies, that's what they're attacking. They're attacking the policies that make it harder for people to steal your jobs, and they're attacking the policies that give you more money to keep in your own pocket. Now, I talked to, the factory owners just a couple of minutes ago, I should say. And you know what they told me? They told me that the working families tax cuts, the tax cuts made possible by Congressman Nunn, that they meant that their business had a lot more money that they could give to workers and higher bonuses and higher salaries, that they could hire more people, that they could expand and create new jobs that didn't exist before. Isn't it nice to have a government that finally is fighting for you instead of fighting against you? And that's what we're trying to have in Washington, D.C. Now, there is so much I'm proud of, so much that is moving in the right direction. Do you know, when I was going around the campaign trail in 2024, one of the number one things that young people said to me, young Americans in particular, is that they couldn't afford to buy a home. They couldn't afford their rent if that's what they wanted to do. And you know, for the first time we've seen in over 5 years, for 8 months running, we have seen the costs of rent come down in the United States of America. Our young people are starting to get close. They're making progress. They're starting to get to the point where they can finally afford their slice of the American dream. And you know why we did that? And you know how we did it? It's actually not that complicated. A simple principle. American homes ought to belong to American families, not investors, not owners, not for buying up. Again, it's not rocket science. It's a simple principle that if you have a government that fights for you, it can make your life easier. It can make it easier for you to start a business or to work at an amazing job. We didn't do anything that was particularly difficult. We did something that was simple and common sense. And I think that's what defines the Republican Party in Washington right now, is it's simply about common sense. You want to lower the cost of homes for American families? Here's a simple thing. Why don't you stop giving 30 million homes to illegal aliens? Why don't you seal the border and make sure those homes go to American families for a change? That's how you lower the cost of housing. If you want to make it easier for a young American to start a family or to get a good job, stop giving jobs to foreign companies and stop giving jobs to foreign countries and protect the good, well-paying jobs that exist right here in the United States of America. And that's what we did. And here's the final thing. When we talk about standing for you, again, whatever your views on a specific policy, there is maybe no more important issue than how about when you pay your taxes to the federal government? We just had tax day just a couple of weeks ago. How about you have a government that actually takes those resources as what they are? Your sweat, your tears, your time away from your family, and protects every single one of those dollars. And that's what we're doing by going after fraud, finally, in the federal government. And let me just give you a couple of examples. We had let fraud become so rampant in this country that people were able to get rich, not by creating something amazing, not by employing something, not by building something beautiful with their hands. They were able to get rich by defrauding every single person in this room. And they were taking money that should go to America's low-income families, to America's elderly, to people who are struggling in our communities. They were stealing it out of their pocket and stealing it out of your pocket so they could get rich. Let me give you just a couple of examples. There was a program in suburban Minneapolis. It's actually a national program, but it was taken advantage of in suburban Minneapolis, where what we do is that we make it possible The American people in their generosity make it possible for the parents of young children who are autistic to get access to after-school services. And I think that's a cool thing because Americans, we take care of one another. But you know what happened? That money wasn't going to the parents of autistic children. That money was going to Somalian fraudsters because somebody figured out in the illegal immigrant community that if they went around and said that all of the children in a particular household had that particular problem, then they could collect a lot of money from the federal government. And so what happened? You paid your taxes, those people got rich, and the families who needed those services never got to access those services. They were stolen from, and you were stolen from, and your government didn't do a single thing about it until Donald J. Trump and Congressman Nunn came along. What we did is very simple. We went to the state of Minnesota and said, we want you to audit the people who are getting access to these funds. And if you're not willing to confirm that the people who are getting these benefits actually deserve these benefits, then you're not getting another dime of federal money. We cut them off. And that's exactly what we got to do. And ladies and gentlemen, people have asked me, I'm the leader of the fraud task force in Washington. And people have asked me, is that a hard job? And I say, well, let me think. Finding fraud in the federal government, it's kind of like fishing in a barrel with dynamite. Every week, I get a report from the task force. We have our weekly meeting, and I am shocked every single day by the things that we find. Just one of the all-stars on our fraud task force is our great Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins. And Brooke has found out that we've got 355,000 people on SNAP benefits receiving double benefits, that we've got 186,000 dead people getting SNAP benefits, 186,000 dead Americans getting food stamps right now. Now, I know the fake news media is going to say that the big headline from this speech is J.D. Vance proposes that we take away food stamps. That's what they're going to say. I actually think that we should take food stamps away from dead people. I'm guilty of that. I think that's a reasonable thing. I also was talking to Brooke backstage, and she said, you know that there are people who have this is not a joke. There are people who have Lamborghinis who currently receive SNAP benefits. I said, that's interesting. I'm a pretty conservative guy, but I would think that like 95% of the United States of America would agree that if you are wealthy enough to afford a Lamborghini, then you are wealthy enough to not receive SNAP benefits from the American people. Is that common sense? And I could go down and down the list. We just served 22 investigatory procedures. The Department of Justice, we went from discovering what happened in Minneapolis to serving 22, subpoenas so that we could go after the fraud that's happening in Minneapolis. And we did that in just 3 months. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, when we find crime, those people are going to go to prison for defrauding you because that's exactly how it should be. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, my friends, is we know that under the Biden administration, Iowa farmers and farmers all over the United States of America were hit, and they were hit hard. What we've done using the president's trade authorities and using his incredible trade policies is that we have doubled the export market for Iowa farmers in just 18 months. And that is an amazing thing, because what happened for years is that people would dump their agricultural products into the United States of America, but said, you're not allowed to sell great Iowa product overseas. Well, we flipped that on its head. We told all those countries, you're done dumping that crap into the United States of America, and if you don't want to pay a higher tariff rate, you better let Iowa farmers sell into your country, and every single one of them have let Iowa farmers sell into their country. Again, it's amazing what happens when you got a president and a congressman who's fighting for you instead of fighting against you. And that is the record that we've had over the past 18 months. So let me say a couple more things here. So one, I was flipping around in my notes here because I've been trying to find the name of the person that Zach is running against, because we're gonna make fun of her a little bit. Now here's the problem. You know, I'm sure. Well, I don't know anything about her. What I do know is her voting record. I know what she has chosen to prioritize, and it's not you, and it's not your families, and it's not this district. Because here's the thing, there are problems and there are challenges. You know, one of the things I'm proudest of is that under the president's leadership, we had American families about $1,300 richer from the day that he took office until today. That's between the working families tax cuts, that's lowering the cost of rent, that's all that stuff combined. Now that's the good news. Let me give you the bad news. The honest piece of this is that under the Biden administration, the average American family lost about $3,000. So on the one hand, we got a great record to brag on. On the other hand, because of the hole that the Biden administration and the Democrats put us in, we got a lot more work to do, okay? But we recognize that work. We're excited about that work. That's why you sent us to Washington, D.C. That's why you sent Zach to Washington, D.C., was to work on these problems. We know right now that we've got a lot of Iowa farmers that would love to sell more E15 into the market, and we're fighting every day to help them. Now, I said that. I did not even see the E15 crew we got over here. I need one of those T-shirts. But the congressman has got legislation that's working right now, and we're working on it every single day because, number one, we want Iowa farmers to have access to more markets, but number two, we want everybody, all of our fellow citizens across our 50 great states, to benefit from what's made right here in Iowa. That's why we're fighting for E15. We also know that a lot of our farmers are struggling with high fertilizer prices. I'm aware of that. As the President of the United States has said, we got a little blip in the Middle East. We got to take care of some business on the foreign policy side. But you know what we're doing simultaneously? We're working with a congressman, and we're finding ways every single day to make sure that you guys and the farmers of this great state get access to the products that they need. We're working on it. We're working on it every single day. Now, when I see Iowa farmers who need to get that E15 to market, Zach, you're gonna have to help me out with her name here. I lost my page here. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. Sarah Trone Garriott. There he is. I'm on the wrong page here. So while Zach is fighting to make sure, for the benefit of Iowa, but frankly for the benefit of the whole country, that we get more E15 into the market all over the United States of America, his opponent voted to push biological males in girls' sports as early as kindergarten. Okay, while he fought very hard for the working families tax cut to make sure that you got to keep more of your hard-earned money, and why you guys, in fact, are going to have the biggest tax refund season, or starting to have the biggest tax refund season in American history, he was fighting for more money in your pocket. She was voting against banning gender transition surgeries for minors. She was voting against schools giving parental notification if students start changing their pronouns. Now, we all hear that and we all think that's pretty crazy, but recognize that not everybody agrees with us. Here's the thing. Even if you don't think that's crazy, why is that the priority of a woman who wants to represent you in Washington, D.C.? Why? Why isn't she working to increase your take-home pay? Why isn't she fighting for the farmers to get more of that E15 all over the United States of America? Why isn't she fighting to lower housing costs for the people of this district the people of the state and the people of the United States of America. And it goes back to the question that I asked at the very beginning of this discussion. We have two parties in Washington, D.C. And I hate to say this because I was, raised by blue-collar union Democrats. My mama and papa, they said that, back when they were voting in the 80s and 90s, the man and woman who raised me, mama and papa said, we're for Democrats because Democrats are for working people. And I don't think that's true anymore, my friends. And it's a heartbreaking thing. It's heartbreaking for a kid who came from a union Democrat family to realize that Democrats these days, they seem to care more about gender transition than they do about you keeping more of your hard-earned money. And I really do believe this, that there are Democrats like my mama and papa all over the great state of Iowa, but I hate to say it, and I hate to break it to you, but there are none left in Washington, D.C. The Democrats in Washington, D.C., they want to trade stocks, insider trading for money, just like Nancy Pelosi did. The best part of the State of Union address is when the President of the United States called out Nancy Pelosi for her stock trading, and I look over at her, and she has got the sourest look I have ever seen on a human being's face. It turns out Nancy Pelosi likes nothing less than being called out for her insider stock trading. We're just talking about that, the State of the Union. You have this beautiful 6-year-old girl. You may remember this. It was a few months ago, but it was a very revealing moment about who our respective political parties stand for. Because this little girl had been shot by an illegal alien, but she had survived. Miraculously, she was in amazing condition. She was a sweet, just a really cute kid. And, I'm the father of a 6-year-old boy. He's actually here with me. He's backstage. And this girl was so proud. She was proud to be there in the chamber, and she gives her dad a big hug. And the Republicans all stand and cheer, and the Democrats all sit on their hands. And I remember thinking to myself, what is wrong with you that you cannot stand up and cheer for a 6-year-old girl who survived an assassin's bullet? What is wrong with you that you cannot vote to give more money in the pockets of Iowa farmers and Iowa factory workers? What is wrong with you when you cannot stand up for the Americans, some of whom literally have taken bullets in the United States of America, but you fight every single day for illegal immigrants who have no right to be in the United States in the first place? And what does it say about a political party that they have fought more against our anti-fraud efforts than they ever did to protect your dollars and to protect the benefits of the people who use those benefits? My friends, this is not a normal election. This is not a normal political environment. This is a contest between a party that wants to take all of your money and give it to illegal aliens, and a contest between gentlemen like Zach Nunn, who fight every single day for you. And I have a simple question here, which is, do you want somebody who votes to give your money to illegal aliens? No. Do you want somebody who votes to raise your taxes? No. Do you want somebody who supports defrauding you and taking money away from poor kids so they can give it to the fraudsters? No. Then do we want crazy far-left Democrats in Washington, D.C.? No. Here's what we do want. Do we want somebody who fights for you every single day? Yes. Do we want somebody who has put more money in your pocket? Yes. Do we want somebody who gives E15 all over the United States of America so Iowa farmers can profit from it? Yes. So what do we want? We want Congressman Zach Nunn, and you got to get him to Washington, D.C. So let me just say one more thing, my friends, and then I will hit the road. I like I said, I've got my 6-year-old son back there, and the backstory of why. By the way, I started in Washington, D.C. We flew from Washington to Ohio. I voted in Ohio's primary today. From Ohio, that's right. The media asked me who I voted for. None of your business. Went from Ohio to Oklahoma City to do a fundraiser for the Republican National Committee. And then I came here to be with all of you this evening. And, my I can't wait to tell my wife when we get home that we've watched about 9 episodes of X-Men, and my son has eaten 4 chocolate chip cookies. She's going to be very pleased. With the vice president. But here's the thing. I it kind of just worked out. I wasn't six-year-old because last week I took his little sister on a trip, and he was feeling a little jealous. And you know, when he's a kindergartner, it's not like missing schools. No offense, but one day of kindergarten's not going to cause him any problems. So he came out with me today, and we've had such a good day, and it's just been an amazing thing. I always enjoy coming out and doing events like this, but to do it with your 6-year-old son by your side is really an amazing thing. But as it happened, when we landed here in Des Moines, or at the airport there in Des Moines, we met a couple of Gold Star families from Iowa. And a couple of you probably know this, maybe all of you know this, that in, you know, what's going on in the Middle East, this operation in Iran, Iowa has borne a heavier burden maybe than any other state in the union. This great state has lost about half of our KIA. And I know that you all will join me in saying that we love them and we're proud of them and we're praying for them every single day. Thank you. But also on the tarmac, a couple of Gold Star families met me, a couple of families who've lost people just in the last 9 or so months, one in Iran and then one in Syria about 9 or so months ago. And I was talking to them, and one of them told me, I had no idea, I didn't plan to see them, but they were here, and of course I was honored to see them. It's an amazing thing as a Vice President of the United States to meet the parents and the families of the people who put on a uniform and sacrifice their life for this country. And so I'm always happy to do it, always honored to do it. But one family, and I won't use their name, I don't know how political they are, if they're political at all, but they told me that their son's birthday was today. And so I get in the car with my little 6-year-old, and I look into those big eyes. His eyes remind me of his mother's eyes. And I think to myself, what an amazing blessing it is to be able to be a father in the freest and most prosperous country anywhere in the history of the world. And I thought to myself, what would I say? What would I say if this beautiful 6-year-old boy got older and decided, like his dad, to put on the uniform of his country, and like so many of you here, decided to put on the uniform of his country? And I thought to myself, on the one hand, I'd be so proud of him. I'd be so proud of him. But on the other hand, I'd be so terrified that what happened to those two families would happen to this boy. And it hit me that every time we lose somebody, every time somebody goes overseas and sacrifices their life, every time that a person gives the ultimate sacrifice to the United States of America, we often read about it as a line on a newspaper or online, but there's a father, and there's a mother, and there's a grandma and aunts and uncles and a whole crew of people who love them the same way that we all love every single member of our family. And you take that love and you set that on one side, and you consider the balance that all of us owe. Because on the other side is we have to meet their sacrifice by carrying something forward that they can't carry forward. We have to make this country worthy of that sacrifice. You remember that movie, Saving Private Ryan? It's one of my favorite movies. And at the very end, right before one of the soldiers takes his last breath, he looks up and he says, "Earn this." What he means is all that love, all that was taken away from those families, all that was taken away from so many of the people who've put on the uniform and sacrificed for this country, we have to earn it. Now, so much of that is how you live your life. So much of that is, Congressman Zach Nunn being a good husband and father and his beautiful family here. I think what you guys have 6 or 7? 6. She is a saint, Zach. She is a saint. Part of that is how we go to work and treat our employees and what we build and make with our hands and with our minds. Part of it is how we go to church and give back to our community. But part of how we earn that incredible sacrifice given to all of us is by making this country's politics and government worthy of the people who put on the uniform and will never see their loved ones again. And part of what we have to do, my friends, is every single day, we have to send people to Washington. I'm not saying you have to agree with every single issue. I'm saying that you got to send people to Washington who wake up every single day and recognize that they fight for you. That's how we sacrifice. That's how we make this country great again. And that's how we make 250 years of American history and American patriots proud. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me in Iowa.
Hey, you guys, did you like this? Y'all turn the chat up. I kind of want to, I don't know. Let's see how much I can get through this next video. I kind of want to play a little. I may not finish this video with you guys tonight, but if I don't, I'll do it in the morning or later tonight. Marco Rubio, hold up. Let me just pull it up for you guys. I'm going to multitask during this one, so play nice in the chat. I think I have it for you. Marco Rubio did a White House briefing. I'll show you guys a little of it, if not all of it, okay? Do you like Marco Rubio? I think it's nice. I got you. Let's see. Hang on. Let me see if I can play it. There you go.
Hostilities are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade.
See if I get to it.
These ships, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food. You start running out of potable water, essential supplies,
awesome.
And they're at the mercy of this piracy. And what it is, it's piracy.
You don't like
and
Marco
not only that, but some of them have seen, been open fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this, and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just because of just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest, because they're unhappy with the quality of life or the lack of quality of life in Iran today. And so they're sitting ducks. They're isolated. They're starving. They're vulnerable. And at least 10 sailors have already died as a result of the civilian sailors. So already many nations privately and some publicly have asked the United States to help free their ships and to restore freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz and this critical artery of global trade. And so President Trump, as he always does, stepped up and answered the calls for their help. And he's directed the United States military to guide these stranded ships to safety, to provide a protective bubble under which they can operate and move product and get themselves out of there and out of harm's way. And this is the first step towards reopening the strait and bringing this regime's last-ditch act of economic arson, bringing that to a close. We're doing it not only because we were asked, but because we're the only ones who can. We have the power to sort of take the steps that we've taken now. Under this president, under President Trump, the United States will help our friends. We're going to stand up to rogue regimes like the one in Tehran, and we're going to be unashamed to use our power and our abilities to project military power in the service of our national interest above all else. Now, what's really important for you to report and for everyone to understand is this is not an offensive operation. This is a defensive operation. And what that means is very simple. There's no shooting unless we're shot at first. Okay, we're not attacking them. But if they're attacking us or they're attacking a ship, you need to respond to that. You're not going to let some fast boat come up on a ship and shoot it up. We're going to respond to it. And we've been successful at it. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know a number of those fast boats have now been targeted and will continue to be. If they pose a threat to our forces, we'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature. This is defensive. So if you hear stories about attacks and launching of firing back and forth, it's not back and forth. We are only responding if attacked first. This is a defensive operation. And that's what's occurring here. Just about the importance of the Straits for a moment. This is approximately a quarter of the world's oil trade. along with significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer that operate through the Straits of Hormuz, the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to dictate who uses this vital waterway. I don't think this is also being reported enough. Maybe you are reporting. I don't read everyone. I don't many damn outlets here. I don't know who you all are, but I mean, I know who some of you are, but I don't know all of you are. But I will say this about it. This is an international waterway. Okay, this is an international waterway. And international law is very clear. And I love it because everybody always talks about international law. And this international law on this is very clear. International waterways, no country can control them. There is no international law that allows you to say, I'm going to put mines in an international body of water and I'm going to blow up ships that don't listen to us and try to go through. That's what Iran is doing. This is a criminal act. And someone needs to do something about it. Something needs to be done. It's completely illegal, completely illegitimate, and completely unacceptable. And that's why the United States military is guiding stranded commercial ships safely through the strait and is working to restore freedom of navigation and putting an end to these efforts to hold the global economy hostage. So far, as a proof of concept and as a proof of function, 2 U.S. flag merchant ships have successfully transferred the Strait of Hormuz in the first stages of this project, and they're now safely on their way. The U.S. military is deploying the necessary assets to extend this defensive umbrella over commercial shipping. But there should be no mistake. And as I said this already, this is a defensive operation. I want to reiterate that point. This is important to understand. If no shots are fired at these ships and no shots are fired at us, we're not firing shots. But if we're fired on, we will respond, and we will respond with lethal efficiency. The assets supporting this project, by the way, include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 of the finest military service members on the planet. These forces have already destroyed, as I told you earlier, I thought it was 6, it's 7 Iranian fast boats that failed to heed our warnings. And by fast boats, we're talking about, some of these things look like Boston whalers. Okay, so these are not like Navy ships, but nonetheless, they come fast at these boats, try to swarm them, try to harm them. We're not going to let that happen. So 7 of them now sit at the bottom of the sea, along with, by the way, the rest of Iran's Navy. That's where you can find their Navy today. And we're going to continue to systematically clear this passageway through the straits to restore freedom of navigation. Now, while this project steadily progresses, Operation Economic Fury, continues to impose maximum pressure on the Iranian regime and what remains of their already frail economy. Today, inflation in Iran is 70%, and their currency is in total and complete freefall. U.S. sanctions enforcement is stepping up. It's moving in lockstep with the naval blockade to degrade Iran's capacity to generate, to move, and repatriate revenue. It directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. The blockade alone is costing Iran as much as $500 million a day in lost revenue. 90% of total Iranian trade has been halted, causing permanent damage to Iran's oil infrastructure as wells are forced to shut in. Again, all of this is in response to their piracy. Okay, it cannot be that you have these straits and they blow up any ship that moves and the only ships that get to go through are theirs. You can't have a situation in which the straits are closed to everyone else, but they benefit from the piracy. That can't happen. That's why the blockade is in place, and that's why these sanctions are crippling them. Any foreign financial, and by the way, Treasury is now identifying and cutting off every dollar of revenue that's flowing to this regime. And so, look, any foreign financial institution or commercial actor that enables Iran's sanctions evasion is going to face secondary sanctions exposure and a loss of access to the U.S. financial system. As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be open, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here. Every day the conflict continues, however, our leverage on Iran will continue to increase, and their position will continue to weaken, especially as the blockade really begins to bite in conjunction with the sanctions. So, look, the time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And apart from that, I mean, the top people in that government are, to say the least, they're insane in the brain. And so we need to address that, and it's difficult because it's hard to get past that in their system. But it's important for them to make a sensible choice and the one that's right for their people. The president, our president, has proven time and again that his preference is peace. But Iran must accept the reality of this situation and come to the negotiation table and accept terms that are good for them, but ultimately good for the world. The diplomatic path, if there's a real diplomatic path I'm not always going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. I know what the right choice is for Iran. I hope that the people over there making decisions will make the right one. The last point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose. And with that, it's time for your questions. So, Catherine, why don't we start with you first?
Hi, Catherine Herridge. I'm an independent journalist. Secretary Rubio, have you seen any recent indications that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear weapons program that is credible, verifiable, and that would lead to an immediate de-escalation?
Well, look, this is a longstanding problem for them, right? I mean, they have wanted, they have always said they don't want a nuclear weapon. That's because they've always said that, they just don't mean it. And why do you say, well, how do you know they don't mean it? Well, we don't mean it because they're doing all the things, and historically have tried to do all the things that you do if you want a nuclear weapons program. For example, they innovate and try to innovate long-range delivery missiles that now, in some cases, are capable of reaching much of Europe. They build these large underground centrifuges for enrichment activity. There are countries in the world that are involved in the enrichment business, but these guys do it in mountains and in caves and in hiding. They've always had secret components of their nuclear program undisclosed to the world. And we know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%, that they did so. And that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something that will make it clear that they're not interested in. One thing is to say we don't want a nuclear weapon. Another thing is to do the things that prove you don't want a nuclear weapon. By the way, if what Iran wants is a civilian nuclear program for power plants and stuff like that, there are a lot of countries in the world that have that, and they don't enrich. They import the enriched material. You know, they could have that if that's what they wanted, but they're not acting like that's what they wanted. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program. That's unacceptable. So that's the process we're engaged in now. To create, that's the object of this diplomacy, is to come up with some level of understanding about what are the topics that they've agreed to negotiate on. We don't have to have the actual agreement written out, and one day this is highly complex and highly technical, but we have to have a diplomatic solution that is very clear about the topics that they are willing to negotiate on and the extent and the concessions they're willing to make at the front end in order to make those talks worthwhile. That's what Steve and Jared and the whole team is working on, and I hope to have good news on it. That's the outcome we would prefer. That's the outcome we would have preferred a year ago. That's the outcome I think most of us would have preferred a long time ago. But that's not the option they've given us, given their activity. All right, there's no way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just going to press right in the middle, right there. You right there. Yeah. In the back row.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to you next. I can't get everyone. You know that. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio. Keep going right. Welcome to the White House.
What's that?
Talking to me, sir?
Yeah, to you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have two questions on two separate issues that come
Do they
under.
get two questions for these?
Two questions.
There's a lot of people in here.
That fall under your umbrella.
All right. Well, you answer. You can ask me two questions. I'll give you one answer. Go
Thank
ahead.
you very much.
And I'll pick the one I like better.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The first has to do with the blockade. There are lawmakers from both parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question has to do with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships and put mines in the water. So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships. If everyone's ships are not getting out, your ships are not getting out either. That's not an act of war. That's a defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do. You know what is an act of war? Putting mines in the water. Why don't the members of Congress, whoever it is complaining about it, they should be all over that. These guys put mines in the water. That alone, mining in the water is illegal, period, under any circumstances. And they've done it. But this is crazy stuff, but this is what they've done. On Cuba, oil blockade on Cuba. There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba, okay? Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela, used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take like 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Cubans have decided, the Venezuelans have decided we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays, the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists, that's bad enough, but they're incompetent communists. The only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent one. And that's what, so incompetent communists run that country. They don't know how to fix it. They really don't. And we have 90 miles from our shores, a failed state that also happens to be friendly territory for some of our adversaries. So it's an unacceptable status quo. I will be addressing it, but not today. Okay. All right, let's go to the front, right there.
Secretary Rubio.
Yeah.
You are going to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Is this an attempt to smooth things over with the Pope, given the rhetoric between President Trump and Pope Leo?
No, it's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened. And no, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly, and we have shared concerns about religious freedom, religious freedom in different parts of the world. We'd love to talk to them about that. The topic of Cuba, we gave Cuba $6 million of humanitarian aid, but obviously they won't let us distribute it. We distributed it through the church. We'd like to do more. We're willing to give more humanitarian aid to Cuba, by the way, distributed through the church, but the Cuban regime has to allow us to do it. They won't allow us to give their own people more humanitarian aid, and we're willing to do it through the church. So there's a lot to talk about.
And the president recently said that the Pope is endangering a lot of Catholics as a result of his rhetoric around the Iran war. Is that a sentiment?
Well, I don't think that's an accurate description of what he said. I think what the president basically said is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would use it against places that have a lot of Catholics and Christians and others for that matter. It goes back to the central point. I think the president, without trying to speak for him, but I think I can characterize it this way. He doesn't understand why anybody, leave aside the Pope, the president, and I, for that matter, I think most people, I cannot understand why anyone would think that it's a good idea for Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon. Look what they're doing with the Straits right now. They're holding the whole world hostage. They have these sailors, on commercial ships that are going to starve to death out there. They don't care. They don't care that this is melting down the economies around the world, even of their own allies. This is what they're doing with the Straits. What do you think they would do if they had a nuclear weapon? They would hold the world hostage with that nuclear weapon. That's what they would do. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now with the Straits. And I think the president's point is how anyone cannot see that as an unacceptable outcome and an unacceptable risk is beyond him. It's puzzling. And someone has to do something about it. The difference between this president and like the 6 presidents that preceded him were that he's the only one that's actually been willing to do something about it. Everyone says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but you got to do something about it at some point. And he's been willing to address that threat. And that's what he promised he would do when he got elected, by the way, is address threats like this. I wish I knew your name.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Can you put name tags on?
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with Rudao Media Network.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, the president has said multiple times that weapons were provided to the Kurdish groups to pass on the Iranian people. However, Kurdish political parties and the regional government says they have not received such weapons. Even some claim these weapons remain in the U.S. base in the region. Can you clarify who those weapons were given to and whether you intend to retrieve them or still want to pass to the Iranian people?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what the president is expressing, and I think has repeatedly, is he wished the Iranian people had, look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it, you're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself. You've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And it's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it. By the way, this goes back, if you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys. Okay, these are people that hang people from cranes in the town square so everyone can see. They continue these executions of people and have continue to do so for over a decade and a half now. And so I think what the president is expressing is the desire that he wishes the Iranian people had an ability to fight back against some of these things that are happening to them. And I would view that as distinct and separate from the specifics of this operation that was ongoing before it concluded, and certainly different from the operation that's going on now. Right there in the,
Regarding
no, right there in the
Colombia,
blue. No, no, no.
regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary.
Right behind you, not Colombia, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. On Lebanon, are
Yes.
we in a ceasefire or less fire? And the second question, do you think you would be able to achieve an agreement between Lebanon and Israel without risking a civil war in Lebanon? What are
Yeah,
you
look,
doing
Lebanon's
to risk? What are you doing to?
No, I got it. I got the gist of your question. So look, here's the challenge with Lebanon, okay? There's no problem between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government. Israel doesn't claim any land in Lebanon belongs to them. And by and large, I think a peace deal between Lebanon and Israel is imminently achievable and should be. The problem with Israel and Lebanon is not Israel or Lebanon, it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah operates from inside of Lebanese territory. They terrorize and attack Israelis, but they also are inflicting tremendous damage on the Lebanese people. The reason why Lebanon gets attacked by Israel is because of Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is hiding in some house, launching rockets against Israelis, and then they get hit. So what you're seeing now is Israeli responses to either attacks or perceived threats. And this is not new. This has been going on for a very long time. What is our hope? Our hope is to engage the Lebanese and Israeli governments under, our mediation at the table to achieve this. And that is having Lebanese armed forces and a Lebanese government, not just with the willingness, but with the capability to begin to challenge Hezbollah and disarm them. Because the Lebanese people are also victims of Hezbollah. And by the way, on the topic of Hezbollah in Lebanon, who is behind Hezbollah? Why do they exist? They're an agent of Iran. If you go through that Middle East and you identify every problem, Hamas, Hezbollah, to some extent the Houthis, obviously, and others, behind every one of these groups is Tehran. So apart from the nuclear weapons, apart from all these other things, these guys are behind all the bad actors. Hezbollah is a wing. It's an extension of Iranian desire to destabilize the region. So we're very committed to this process. It's not going to be easy. You're asking me a complex question. This has been going on for a very long time. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that both sides continue to talk so that progress can be made on some sort of permanent ceasefire that isn't constantly spoiled by Hezbollah and by Hezbollah violence. Right in there. I'm winging it, guys. Okay, right there. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the 2 U.S. ships that safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz. Are other ships being told it's safer to get back to regular levels, or are we still going to see limits in place for the foreseeable future?
For obvious reasons, I'm not going to broadcast who we're talking to or who we're telling them to move. I mean, we want these operations to be safe, and I think as it unfolds and ships get through, we'll make those announcements after the fact, just for operational security purposes. But the goal here is pretty simple. Establish a zone of transit that is protected by a bubble, the United States, both naval and air assets, and then allow ships who want to move through there and get to market, to begin to increase confidence in the ability to do so. That doesn't happen in 12 hours. It takes time to set up that bubble and gain that confidence, but that's the goal. We have been in touch. We've been in touch, with a bunch of different liners about moving, and we're hoping to continue to improve the security situation, and we'll start to see some of that movement, and we'll announce it as it happens after the fact. We're not going to be like broadcasting, hey, tomorrow at 12, ship X is going to be coming through, for obvious reasons, because that degrades the security. But we feel confident we're going to be able to achieve that. Look, it's not going to solve the whole Straits problem. It's going to solve a lot of it. But it's important to challenge what Iran is doing now. Guys, again, if you take anything away today, and I can't tell you what to write, but Iran cannot be allowed to normalize this control of the Straits. It's completely unlawful, illegal. It's outrageous. And every country in the world should be joining us and condemning it and doing something about it. But the United States has stepped up and is trying to do something about it.
Regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary, we've had several tourists.
I'm sorry. We'll see if we get to Colombia today. Go ahead. You guys have an election now. Why don't you wait till after your election?
Mr. Secretary, John Michael Ross with Daily Mail. I was curious about your meeting with Southcom earlier. There was a map of Cuba behind you. What did you discuss with Southcom about Cuba? And do you have any updates on?
I'm not going to tell you what I discussed with Southcom.
but it had to do something with Cuba.
No, Cuba's in Southcom. It's the closest part. And so the second point, I was there. Our ambassadors were in from the whole Western Hemisphere. I was addressing them. Meeting the general who just took command of Southcom, and there happened to be a map of Cuba. And I said, it'd be good if we took a picture in front of that map, because it's like the closest thing in Southcom to the United States. So there it is. We have maps of other countries, huh?
Greenland. Did you update on Greenland?
No, they didn't have that map then. In the red, right there in the red.
In the red, okay.
Cristina de Telemundo, Mr. Sec. Can I ask you in Spanish or can I
Yeah,
ask
you can answer in Spanish. You
Muchas
can ask
gracias.
me, but they'll have to translate for them what you
So
ask.
I'll say it in English and if you can answer in both languages. Today I checked the webpage of the State Department and there's still a $25 million bounty on Diosdado Cabello, the Secretary of Interior, for drug trafficking and narco terrorism. I was wondering if that has been put on hold or if you're negotiating with President Delcy Rodriguez to turn him over.
Yeah, I don't have any updates for you on that. The website is what it is, and that's where it stands. That policy hasn't changed. But guys, I mean, let's be mature here a little bit. I'm not going to tell you about what we're talking about with the leader of this country.
El Departamento de Estado sigue considerando a Diosdado Cabello un narcoterrorista y un narcotraficante, como dice en la página del Departamento de Estado.
La política de Estados Unidos en ese tema no ha cambiado, y cuando cambie te dejaremos saber. The politics of the United States on that, the policy of the United States on that topic hasn't changed. When it does, well, obviously we'll inform you, but I don't have any news for you on that today. Right there in the green. I'll get to you. Are you guys all the TV people?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. I'm learning. They gave me a little map. I don't know where I put it of the people here. Some of you had like red X's. I'm kidding. No, it's not true. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The average price of gas in the country right now is
Yeah.
$4.50. Do you have a thought on how long Americans are supposed to kind of accept this? Do you think it will affect Republicans' majorities in the midterms?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on the politics of it. You can tell me. I mean, look, it's obviously being driven by global events. That was true during the Russia-Ukraine war as well, where you saw that come up. Look, we don't benefit from the straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really suffering big time. So we're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, and not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. We're obviously still vulnerable to some extent to global prices. But in the end, I mean, we're more insulated than other countries, even though that's not welcome news to Americans that are paying more at the pump, no doubt about it. And it certainly is one of the circumstances of it. There are people that we're predicting would be much higher at this point, but we're not taking that for granted. Suffice it to say that think about it this way. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want with the straits, and there's nothing anyone would be able to do about it. And that's one of the many reasons, apart from like the massive loss of life in a nuclear strike, why Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. I mean, so this is an example of if they had a nuclear weapon, they close the straits and they would tell the world, what are you going to do about it? We have a nuclear weapon. We can attack you with it. That's the world none of us want to leave behind. It won't happen under this president's watch, but some future president and future, in the future. So it's just one more example of why these guys can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Right there in the black. Right, you in the black. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Where you? No, right there. You both are wearing black. She's closer. No, you don't have black. You have blue on. I'm colorblind, but I know blue and black. Right there. Yes, ma'am. No, you. The first one I called on.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. This is chaos, guys. Go ahead.
Welcome to the White House.
You've long been a leading voice on human rights in China, and so including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week. Do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table?
Well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And we'll continue to raise them in the appropriate forums. All right. Let's get to the front. These guys are going to get mad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
I don't know how I feel about Marco, to tell you the truth. If you guys want me to, he's just going to go through the reporters' questions and things like that. I want to get to Ilhan really quickly before I let you guys go. If y'all want me to finish that one, I will start with that one tomorrow. But it's just like the reporters' questions and stuff like that. Let me get to one more before I get out of here. Are we still friends? Let's see. Marco has, I mean, just because a person is Republican doesn't mean I necessarily rock with them. I don't know how I feel about him. So let me just get to this one. We're still friends, Real Trump said. No, I'm not friends with this person I'm about to play. But I wanted to cover this before I left you. Because these are some of the things that the Republicans fight against. Wait, where'd you guys go? I lost my chat. There you go. All right. Here we go. Is it fitting in the screen, you guys, or is it off? Wait, there.
Welcome back. Today is the deadline for Congresswoman Ilhan Omar to turn over documents to Minnesota's House Fraud Prevention Committee. They're investigating the $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scheme. At issue, Omar's alleged communications with the people tied to the scandal. The case's mastermind, Amy Bach, now convicted, awaiting sentencing. Defendants billed the government, as a reminder, for meals that were never provided through existing restaurants and sham companies. And court exhibits show Omar's name appeared in several emails with Bach. One of those, entitled Ilhan's Office, was also a text chain involving Ilhan Omar. Now roll back to 2018, Omar's victory party. That was at a Minneapolis restaurant, the Safari restaurant. The owner also caught up in the fraud scheme, convicted on 21 counts. Omar did, in fact, receive campaign donations of more than $7,000 from 3 defendants in the case. Her office says that money has now been donated to charity. There are also questions about Omar's finances, a massive swing in reported net worth. The Wall Street Journal says an Omar disclosure filed last year showed she and her husband had assets of between $6 million and $30 million. And that's a massive rise in wealth from her previous annual filings.
These are the things that Democrats don't really want to talk about, but I wonder why. Nothing against Democrats, but why aren't y'all talking about this? It's buffering, Claude? Oh, wait.
Filing since
How about
then,
now?
viewed by the Wall Street Journal, shows the couple's assets have been adjusted down to $18,000, somewhere in that range to $95,000. They don't require exact values. Now, Fox directly asked Omar about
Not
that
anymore.
change
Thank you.
in her net worth, and she had nothing to say.
Could you tell us about your net worth dropping down to about 100,000? Could you just elaborate on what mistake was made, Congresswoman? What mistake was made on your financial disclosure forms to bring it down to 100,000 from up to 30 million? Just want to give you a chance to clear it up.
Fox Digital reporting that much of that value was tied to 2 companies. One, her husband's business, a venture capital firm that jumped from near zero to as much as $25 million in a year. The other, a California winery, surging from tens of thousands to millions in the same time frame. That winery has since been shut down. Omar was pressed on all of this last month on The Breakfast Club.
They're not net worths. They're like the asset things for the companies. And so I don't know what percentage of it my husband actually has investment in. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? It's not a full picture of the numbers in the way that it is presented in the document, because in the documents, we have to do ranges and we have to like report in a way that is not detailed. It's not like your tax return that you're submitting for the public record to see.
But that is a big increase, though. So you could understand why people would ask questions.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it'll get like adjusted at some level when those ranges are looked at.
Why are they being adjusted so far up and far down? Of course, there's also allegations surrounding her brother. President Trump likes to bring it up.
Ilhan Omar, she comes here from Somalia, and she tells us how to run the United States of America. She says the Constitution gives me certain rights, and I demand that I be given these rights. Get the hell out, what a phony. I believe she married her brother, which is totally illegal. Although it's a lovely couple, actually, but it's a little bit on the illegal side. Darling, I love you very much. Good night, brother. Let's go to bed. Good night. Isn't she despicable? I can't stand watching.
Omar's spokesperson has called those accusations absurd, disgusting, and offensive in the past. We reached out again on these allegations, but have not gotten a response. Minnesota State Representative Walter Hudson joins me now. Representative, thanks for being with us here today. Let's walk through a couple of these together. Let's start with the Minnesota fraud scheme and her deadline to turn over documents. Will it reveal any further connections between her and the fraudsters?
Well, it potentially could if she actually turned those documents over. Apparently she has not. And that's not surprising. Of course, she knows that the subpoena power that we have as a committee requires one of the House Democrats here in the state of Minnesota to put up a vote in order to subpoena her. And she knows that her friends are going to protect her. And so we're in a situation here where both she individually and the Democrat Party collectively in the state is defying the very justified expectation of the people of this state and the people of the United States to account for all of these red flags that indicate that she was very likely entwined in the billions of dollars of fraud that we've seen here in our state.
Why does her net worth fluctuate so wildly?
I mean, look, you can only speculate, right? There's not a benign and innocent explanation for it. I don't know how you make a 6-digit, 7-digit error in your reporting from one year to another. And what we have seen, listen, in terms of the investigations, the prosecutions, the indictments that have come forward involving all of this fraud that we've seen a pattern of money transferring overseas. There's been a lot of attention on the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, suitcases full of cash flying overseas. You seem to find a lot of foreign money currency exchange businesses in direct proximity to a lot of these organizations and businesses that have been accused or suspected of being involved in fraudulent activity. So one can only imagine where those millions of dollars that Ilhan Omar apparently thought she had and then decided she didn't actually ended up.
Or never did have, or ended up, as you point out, not actually on her balance sheet. There's a lot of questions about her net worth and where all this money is and isn't, as there is, by the way, about her marriage. Walter Hudson, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Happy to
be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Rubio.
I'll have a brief.
You guys, I can seriously stay here with you all day and listen to our commander-in-chief. I guess some studying I have to do. I love you guys. I'm praying for our country. I'm praying for all of you. It was an interesting night. Do you guys like that? Feel free to leave a comment under my community wall. Oh, would you say, Robert? Even as a conservative myself, I have to disagree. I thought similar at one point, but the evidence just keep building up. Disagree with what, Robert? Which part? What did I miss? She's feeding our country thanks to the Democrats. Right, Noble? Noble, one of these days you're going to have to stream with me. I would love to hear from a Black man about your love for Donald Trump. You have to stream with me. Let me know. What is she? Stewie girl. Stewie girl. Why were they after you, Stewie girl? Huh? Why were they mad? The racism, I can't deny anymore. Oh, Robert, the racism. We'll talk about that in one of my streams. We'll talk about it. I know why you guys call Donald Trump racist. I'm not here to cape for Donald Trump, but we could talk about it, okay? Make sure you subscribe because we can do it on my other stream. People need more. Stewie girl, I love you. You are holding your own. All right, now, we'll talk about that another day. The monkey was too much, but that was a staffer, Robert. It was a staffer. Donald Trump has done a lot for Black people. And as a Black woman, I wouldn't support a racist. I wouldn't support a racist. Does he do questionable things? Does he troll sometimes? Do I like that? No, I don't like that. But I can't see him as a racist. He stood by Mike Tyson. He stood by a lot of Blacks where the world wanted to throw them away. I don't see that as a racist, but you guys are more than welcome to disagree with me. Hey, Scott. Scott, you're not Black, you're brown. Please don't tell me what color I am. Well, all different shades of brown, really, really. Some of us have more melanin in our skin than others. I'm not going to argue that point. What I am going to do, it's crazy how people, what difference does the color of my skin make? I am a beautiful shade of whatever I am. All right, you guys, before I say anything dumb, good morning, Chris. I forgot about that when you then stop calling yourself black. I'm a black woman. Afro-Latina to be exact, but I'm still a black woman. And we all come back. Yeah. So you are making a lot of money supporting Donald Trump. Clara, why are you asking about my finances? I've been a conservative way before Donald Trump got into office. Why are you asking me about that? I love you guys. I'll see you guys. Thank you, Sally. I'll see you guys later. Damage, good to see you, Sally. Real Trump said, Kaiser, Claude, always. You're a beautiful mixed black woman. My family get sober. Oh, mercy. Claire's being mean. No wonder Stewie was tearing y'all up in the chat. You guys aren't being nice. We still friends? Real Trump said, we're friends. All right, you guys. I can tell when I'm slowing down, so I'm going to bid you guys good night / good morning, and I'll talk to you guys later. Stewie girl, keep speaking your truth, girl. I got your back. Bye-bye. Oh, Real Trump said, wait a second, who was it? Thank you for the super sticker, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you, members. Thank you guys that support my stream, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.